Today, we're joined by Aggro.
What's up?
One of the greatest Smite casters of all time. Now moved on.
Thank you.
To designing gods in Smite and just designing things in the game, which was really cool. Thanks for coming.
But only the things that you guys like, and none of the things you guys dislike. None of those are my ideas.
Right. And also console legend. We forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Are legends inherently positive? What's the word for like a negative legend?
You played against Paul.
Uh-huh. I have a very good track record against Paul.
You were on El Leon and El Brochacho's team as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And they were washed as soon as I left. That's important to remember. Yeah, they made Worlds Finals or whatever
I feel
next
like
year, but
El Leon's still a good player, though. Like, right now, he's still a good player.
But how great could he be if I were still there? That's the question you got to ask yourself.
You know what's funny? Funny story about El Leon really quick. I was playing Ranked last night, and he's doing his subathon right now. Shout out to El Leon doing his subathon, but I didn't know his Smurf name was like Crack Smack something, and he was a jungler on my team, and I died twice, and I was like useless jungler, jungle diff, because he didn't come to my lane. I was like they 3-man me on PROC, and I died, and we almost killed. It was a 2v3. We almost killed everybody on the PROC, and then I'm like, okay, fine. I was queuing with Sino, and Sino was solo lane. I'm like, okay, I'll just go solo lane and like go over there. And then I get 4-man by the mid and jungler again. He's on the other side of the map when the jungler is on me. I'm like, jungle diff, useless jungle in chat.
Were you on your main?
No, I was on my Smurf as well.
Oh, okay.
But my Smurf's Alzar Pot. Everybody knows my Smurf
yeah.
right now. So I don't know if he knew it was me or not, but I said that, and he's like, "Shut your mouth!" in chat. I was like, "Okay." And then later I turned his stream on. I'm like, "Wait, that was Elliot. What is going on?"
I love that.
That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes it's just jungle gap. Like, it happens to everyone, you know?
Dude, I feel like it also got to the point where when you type that, people don't take it like that seriously. They're just like just numb to it. They just see it like a million times a day.
Yeah.
It is true though. Like, it is a jungle gap.
Yeah, the best thing is also to make sure that like in post-game lobby, if you were like, let's say, you know, you guys are playing support, of course you're support gapping them, but your team just totally lets you down through no fault of your own.
It really sucks.
You have to make sure you type better support wins, I guess, in the post-game lobby to just be as passive-aggressive as humanly possible. That's a big move.
I don't normally do that.
Herwin does that a lot, I think.
That's where do you think I learned it from?
I'm just kidding.
From the best. Just wait until you see what I've learned from from Hurry when you hear what happens to Bear on our podcast. You know, that's the big thing. That's a joke, by the way.
You hate Barra too?
No, that's serious.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, anyways.
I also hate Barra too, so it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't? You know, that guy is so
Actually,
mean.
I'm lying. I love him. I love laning against him too, so I'm sad to see him go.
Plenty of practice there for sure.
Oh my gosh. Normally at the start of shows we just talk about, you know, how we all got into Smite. Just kind of curious on that. You probably have told me before, but I actually don't remember like what got you into Smite. I don't think.
Yeah. So growing up, I had never played a PC game before Smite. I only played on Xbox and GameCube with my friends, and we played a lot of Halo, Call of Duty, sports games, all that kind of stuff. And I was really into like Call of Duty YouTube. Like I would watch all the nade shot videos, you know, all the optic videos, all that kind of stuff. And MLC Stealth was one of my favorite COD YouTube guys.
Oh, really? That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And he started, and him and a guy by the name of Booman61 who made awesome YouTube videos, and I miss that guy. But they started posting about Smite and just like posting some gameplays about it, and talking about it. And I was always really into mythology. Like I thought that was just like something really cool that we learned about in school. And I took like Latin in high school because I was a turbo nerd. I was like, oh, this seems sweet, but I only had a Mac laptop, and it didn't have, this was in open beta. Actually I wanted to get into the closed beta, signed up on a bunch of different emails, never got one, have never forgiven Hi-Res for that, of course. And then it went to open beta, when I was in college. And so I had my friend who went to Pitt who, could get like a free Microsoft, operating system. He like got one and gave it to me, and I learned how to partition my Mac laptop, which I could not do again, you know, ever. Total luck. In order to put a Windows operating system on my Mac laptop so that I could play Smite, and start playing then, which then like I instantly just became super obsessed, completely ruined my sleep schedule, all that kind of stuff.
Of course. As any game does, any good game does.
Were you always aggro like back then too, or no?
No,
because I don't remember ever seeing you in any.
I think I was
games.
probably aggression back then. Yeah, I think I was aggression back then. Yeah, I had already name changed that on Xbox, so I would have been Aggrafivtion, if you will. And it wasn't until I was playing comp on Xbox and we got picked up by Aware. Aware aggression was too long for a gamer tag, and I was like, oh no, what do I do? And one of our like subs at the time, a guy who went by Achilles, he would always call me Aggro, and I was like, I wasn't in love with it, but I was like, yeah, okay, it just like fits. And then after that it was just like Aggro all the time.
It's kind of funny how excuse me, it's kind of funny how even though Smite was already established on like PC as an esport, it's such like a console thing to do. Like whenever you're under a different team, you always change your gamer tag to it.
I remember when we got picked up by Elevate, they were going to announce it, and I told everyone on our team, make sure you name change right before they announce it, because you don't want to do it too early, because then everyone sees it on their friends list and people will tweet about it.
If you do it too late.
Right, and people will take it if you do it too late. We had a little bit of I'm going to say miscommunication with Elevate the org. Just one of many instances of them being a completely non-functioning organization, in my opinion. And they just released it like a day early. And I remember I was at work and I was like, oh, well, okay, well, hopefully no one takes it. Literally none of us got our like main tags because people had name changed to them. So
I can't believe that actually that they did it that quickly.
Andy in particular, El Leon, he like people took like Elevate Chapo, Elevate El Chapo, ELV Chapo, ELV El Chapo, Chapo with an O, Chapo with a 0. Like he was like, bro, I've tried like 7 gamer tags, they're all taken, because he was the biggest name on the team.
That's too good.
Yeah, he got like absolutely griefed by them.
That's so funny. For him. Do you remember what got you into the comp scene?
Yeah, I do. We were watching. It had just started coming out on Xbox, and all of us had played so much Xbox. My friends and I were good Call of Duty players, and we were watching a tournament, and it was. Do you guys remember Lovely? He was like a Masters level PC player who then went to Xbox and was like streaming Xbox tournaments. I never know how much crossover there is of these like lower, like not
honestly. If you probably asked me a couple years ago, I probably was a higher chance to remember. There's
sounds
so many
familiar,
names
but I can't remember. Yeah. I can't remember him exactly.
Yeah.
I've never talked to him at least.
Yeah, I mean he was an okay dude as far as I could tell, but I was watching his Xbox Smite gameplay and I was like, this guy is not very good. And they were like winning tournaments, and I like told my friends to tune in, and we were like, we could totally beat these guys. On controller, and so we just all started playing on Xbox. Me and a bunch of my old friends who I played Call of Duty with, and we just had to like find. It was myself and my friend T Small, who's still in ranked queues and that kind of stuff all the time, and my other friend Candyman. And then we ended up finding 2 people and teamed with them, and then went to MLG New Orleans, which was the first like big event. And I think we upset Epsilon there, which had, who was on that episode? It was like Sealcar, Prosper. These are all names that like Xbox players only will probably remember. Maybe Catalyst was on that team.
I remember Sealcar for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you remember Sealcar. We talked about that a while ago. And we ended up like having a pretty good tournament. That was to qualify for the SCL. Qualified there, and that's the land that El Leon won with like Clow, and I don't know if Wiggles DeBay was on the team at the time, or if I think he might have been.
He probably was. I think at that time.
And then right after that land, they dropped Clow because he was just like clowing.
Yeah, he's-
you know, like
he was
just
he was
There-
clowning around.
No one could explain what that means to anyone.
If you weren't around for Clow, it's inexplicable. Like,
Yeah.
If you know Clow, you know what it means. But if you don't, then it's confusing, I guess.
And we could spend the whole podcast.
is there
trying to
anyone
explain
even
it to you.
close to him now? Like, what's the closest comparison?
I don't even know.
I feel like there is no one.
No.
Like, surely one of one in
Yeah.
in many.
In many senses.
Yeah.
It's funny because I always forget that Sino played with Clow for a pretty long time when he was on Xbox.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
And he's just always like he just always randomly brings up a Clow story. I'm like, yeah, and every time he brings up a story about Clow, I'm like, I forgot you played with him.
Yeah.
That's awesome though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I joined up with them then, and then they never won another tournament. So you decide if that's a coincidence or not.
So after you joined, they never won another tournament.
Correct. Yeah, that's right.
The team you were on, you never won another tournament.
No, I never won any tournaments. Period.
Oh, okay.
But they did win a tournament, then picked me up, then proceeded to never win another tournament.
So how did you get picked up by them? Did they message you? Did you reach out to
Yeah,
them?
I talked to Elion a little bit while we were there in New Orleans, just like getting to know him. And when Clow was clowing, they decided they wanted to make a swap in mid, and I had played pretty well at that tournament. I think, everyone was terrible back then, and everyone in SPL was terrible, and that was season 2. That's just like how it was, but it was particularly bad, of course, on Xbox, at least until like the Envy guys came over and really taught everybody how to play. But yeah, he just messaged me and I tried out. I don't remember who else they tried out, but I ended up getting the spot. And I remember he was like, okay, well, Cloud played a lot of Hades, and we think Hades mid is really OP. And Hades was not in my god pool. I was like a Zeus Giannis player, like only if I could help it. And they were like, okay, yeah, you've got to learn Hades, but otherwise you're playing really well and we'll pick you up. And I was like, nice. I played Hades like every game in mid for like 2 weeks before we started scrimming. I show up to scrims. We play Hades mid, like game 2. I go off. Andy hard ints the scrim. Just like ruins the entire scrim.
Jungle Gap again, dude.
I know. Well, look, it happens. But then he goes, yeah, I don't know, Papo. The Hades is just different. Like, I don't think it's that good. We shouldn't play it anymore. And I was like, I've worked on this for so long. We literally never. I played it one time.
That is a scrim classic.
That is
One time.
From
And
like-
it wasn't even my fault.
I feel like that happens like every so
Always.
often where someone plays something. They have like a good game, and then someone else has a bad game, and then they're like, "Yeah, this is not good." I feel like I've seen that happen before on like multiple occasions. But it's
Dude, I'm
always
telling you
funny.
what, I'll bet you my Hades mid win rate to this day is like 80%. I still slam on that god because that was like the hardest I'd ever focused on improving on one god's playstyle because that's such a different
Yeah.
style than every other pick. Like, I literally like VOD reviewed my Xbox ranked games in order to like get
That's awesome.
to like really understand how to play it better. And then I played it once and we never played it again.
Dude, Benny played Hades mid against you today, right?
He did, yeah.
Did he go off?
Was
I
that
didn't
the
see
game they won? They won game 1, right?
I think he won. Yeah, he won game 1, and then he played it again. He did pretty well both games on it.
Yeah,
Hades is
I
a
think it's
sleeper
legit good.
pick. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's legit good, in
Yeah,
mid,
like it.
especially in this meta against the assassins. Like I
Yep.
think that's really smart by him.
Yeah, agreed.
sure.
Yeah, no. Okay, I'm gonna drop it here. If you want a good pick against assassins in mid, I'd like to see the Benny Atlas back. I know a lot of people are haters. Dude, it slams, man. That character slams melee gods. He just owns them.
Yeah.
Big globe.
Uh-huh. But there are like others, that also slam a little bit.
No one could pick the world up though and drop it
Yeah.
on their head like Atlas.
That's true.
can.
Where's the ESET been?
I guess
I've been
Will
wondering.
Wing can do
Like
that.
ESET's like so good against dive assassins and dive comps in general. Where's my circle of protection?
I feel like none of the mid laners like ESET for some reason.
Yeah. She's
don't
just
know.
like she hasn't always been a weird mid god, but since like past like season 4, I feel like that's not what mid laners have typically wanted to do.
It's funny because I feel like everybody that isn't mid is like, yeah, I'll play ESET. Like I love ESET.
I do
She's
too,
so
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, she's fun.
Yeah, she's
I
so
feel
fun.
like Sino, Cyclone also like ESET a lot. Like everybody's like, yeah, give me ESET.
Your team
I'll
has
play
ESET
that.
players for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul used to be an
And
ESET
Paul,
player.
yeah, Paul played it. I mean, we got a tournament win with ESET back in season 8, or season 9.
That was spring, right?
Yeah, the spring. Yeah, the first split. He played ESET a lot. And he did really well.
Yeah. ESET jungle is like actually good. I think.
Dude, people are always just cyclical. I think I remember you saying this one time. This was maybe I wouldn't say it was season 6, and that was like the start. That was like the invade meta, and then people were like, fire. That was when the first year EFG came out, and there were a lot of like coin flip EFGs that would really just decide the game off random steals, and then you were just like, why don't people just play objective secure? Like if EFG is that OP, just play objective secure, and then you guys, I remember that next split's just like Kakalkin ESET every game, or like
Vulcan.
all around Kakalkin, Vulcan, all that stuff, and I'm like, that's gone. Yep. See EFG, but that's the type of thing. Like every now and then you see like double hunter comps burn it, and then you're like, oh well, we can't secure it, and then you see like secure meta mages, and just around and around we go. You know?
But that's what makes MOBAs like so fun to me,
it is.
Just like it's a constantly changing puzzle that having that experience, you know what pieces are typically good. When these pieces are on the board, then this usually ends up going pretty well. But if everyone knows that you might go to this, then how do I subvert that expectation and like go to a different, that kind of stuff? Like
that's why like flex picks are so interesting. I think because like you can play a god and like a god being the same character but in 2 different roles, it could like play entirely different on team comp, like kind of how assassin mids are right now, that type of thing. Yeah,
it's maybe a little too many assassins this weekend, but like last weekend I know it was like 30% assassins in mid and like 50% mages, and then the rest were hunters or something like that. And I think that type of split is really, really cool. It's something cool, that I'm excited to see. I'm a little sad it like took so long. Like I feel like these types of things probably could have been good.
They were
on other maps, and it just takes it is so hard to break new ground on like beating this is just what we've always done is like it has to be so much better and so much obviously better in order to ever beat this is just what we're used to.
Well, it's kind of like the thing as well about how the way your teammates are in scrims, like it really also takes everybody like buying in and really like seeing the same picture, and it's really tough because like you said, like if I play a mage support, like maybe the game is harder for like someone else on my team because I'm not like a guy who's like maybe starting the fight like at melee range and like eating a bunch of cooldown. So it's like they can just be different everywhere. I really have loved. Actually, do you remember in season 5? It was your guys' first split of Splice when Baskin was playing like Kakalin and Achilles and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was season 6, the first when he was on. Or are you saying
it was
when Baskin was on your team or my team?
No. It was your guys' first split as Splice in spring because you guys were playing melee mids as well. Like Cyclone was playing or melee dual laners. Yeah. So like Cyclone was playing them in ADC, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I remember you guys would make fun of like we're the last place team, everyone's copying us, like that sort of thing.
Dude. That is like we scrimmed. Who was Stoopy and Jigs' team?
It was CLG. It was CLG.
CLG.
5, yeah.
Yeah, so we scrimmed CLG, and we literally Cyclone played Achilles and like ran it down like 3 games against them. They literally load into their SPL game the next day before we even play, and Stoopy's playing like Achilles, and they get completely stomped. And all you guys watching the game, all the casters like, what are they doing? Like this is not a good strategy. I don't know why they keep going back to it.
Yeah.
And then we do it the day after. We also get stomped because we literally lost like every set that phase.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, what is happening? And then I'm like, and then Cyclone's like, why is everybody copying us off of us from our last plays? What is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say I remember that pretty well. And as someone who I was typically the most open to like a weird strategy, I feel like among the casters, I was a massive hater of Warrior ADC that meta. I will come out.
It was so funny because from my perspective, like I saw Baskin did it in mid and they were winning. Like they were a good team on. Were they SSG at that point? I think they were. And then you guys in CLG did it and lost. But it's like it is cool because it is just different and like you can for sure catch people off guard. Like I'll say stuff as a joke now where like I see people play like a janky like ADC pick versus Cyclone. I'm like, that's not the guy to do that versus, man. Like he knows how to play that matchup. You wouldn't think so, but he knows how. But I love that. And I've also, you know what I was so sad about? It was when I think it was the start of last year when Persistent Teleport first came out because that's when they gave like all of the relic upgrades. I wish we got to play an SPL meta with that for like just give me like 2 weeks of it.
Teleport?
Yeah, just give me like 2 weeks of it. I've always wanted to have like a multiple roles going like TP meta. I thought it would be so fun, just like Map play would be crazy. I feel like it'd be so fun to watch.
Well, you were playing during the teleport to God's ritual meta, right?
A little bit, but that's different because
wasn't that super fun?
Well, you had to get to that was different because it was like late game, a little bit, and that was like that.
It was a one-time use that you had to buy that was pretty expensive.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the potential that you can just do
so
that,
high.
and you
So
put it in
high.
an item slot compared to a relic slot, so
Right.
like. You can kind of get it whenever you want. Like once you go teleport, you're locked into it. Like the teleport back then, you could just be like, "Oh yeah, I'll take a teleport right now. Why not?"
Yeah, you know what? Worth 500 gold.
You know something I did earlier in ranked this year, just for fun, is you guys remember when Andy used to go TP Thor? Like back in season 2 and season 3, I was like, why has nobody tried stuff like that in forever? Like, because I thought back then it was pretty good. You would just like, he would just like both junglers. Back then it was like soul lane meta, and like if you wanted to invade the first blue respawn or whatever, your jungler couldn't get their item and come. So Andy's like, okay, I'll get my item and I'll TP there and we'll kill you. And he would just do that. I'm like, that's actually really smart. I mean, it's a little janky, but I thought it was cool. But yeah, I just always love stuff like that.
Yeah, same. Always fun. And then, but now that I'm a dev, I'm like, oh, that's funny. Oh wait, do I have to like worry about that? Like, are people gonna complain?
And then,
do I have to nerf it?
everybody's be like, Aggro, what are you doing? Why'd you do this to the game?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You probably get a lot of that now, right?
I sure do.
On that, I was gonna say on that note, are you getting that with Maman?
Yeah, people don't like playing against the 3. It turns out. Who would have guessed?
Yeah.
You know.
The one thing I want to say about Mama is I played her in Arena for the first time yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read any of her abilities. Like this is like the first god actually that I didn't like look at the abilities because I was like pretty busy I think on the patch notes day, and I just never gave myself a chance to go back and look at them. I'm like, you know what, before I read the abilities, I'm just gonna go queue an arena game and play her. I don't know what she does. I'm just gonna try her out. I go into an arena game. I have no clue what to do. I remember I watched Yark was streaming later or like yesterday, and I was watching him play. I'm like, oh, okay, you could do it. I didn't realize you could cancel like the one to like dot them.
Yep.
I was channeling it the
whole time. You're like, this is not a great assassin ability.
I'm like, what is happening? And then I was like, I can't. This is hard to stun. Like it makes a lot more sense that you just use it once, it dots them, and then you can cancel it, and then you can use it to stun as well. It's super cool. But I remember I think I was against a Bacchus, and I just kept getting burped on.
Yep.
And
I died. A burp
battle.
You were just full channeling it the whole time.
Yeah, but mine was getting stuffed out on the Bacchus every time, and then I get flopped.
Yep.
And I'm going full damage, and my team says, "Man, why did they make a Mama achievement award in chat? Everybody plays Mama. No more Mama in Arena. Please stop picking Mama." Someone says in chat. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's my first game. I don't even know what the abilities do. That's what I said in chat. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I've never played the god before. I think I went 1-11 and I got wrecked.
That's why I like saying first time X character every time. It's just a funny tradition to me.
Yeah,
I love it.
I got so wrecked, but I played her. I remember I played her again. I'm like, okay, I can't let this if this is how my first impression of this god is, I can't do it. So I literally played her next game, and I just went full tank. I went Sentinels, Prophetic Cloak, Thebes into I forgot what I went. I think I went Pridwin, and then I think I went East Staff. And I'm like, okay, this feels a lot better now. I was just in there. I was just channeling my thing, not dying.
Yeah.
And then I realized and I also ranked my 2 because I'm like, okay, the 1 seems better to rank once I realize you can cancel it. But what do you rank on Mama actually?
Yeah, 1 max for sure.
1 max.
I think it's definitely really strong. I saw a lot of people putting points in the 3 after that, and I would definitely say the 2. I think the 2 is probably better to put points into before you even put a second point into your alt. It's just and the reason being is that the cooldown goes down. Like just having access, the mark that the 2 in the alt applies is like such a huge catalyst for your damage that just getting that up more often is like the most important thing, basically.
I think the learning curve for people on that character, I think is going to be really slow on how you play against it, because I think the 3 is going to be obviously frustrating when you feel like I can't do anything against this, but if you look at the ability, the per rank like damage increase in the scaling is actually not very high at all. It's literally just because
Bro,
it's
what's
proccing the passive. That's
I was
all
literally
it is.
just looking at it last week because people
It's
were
like
talking about it.
180 at max.
It's 180
rank or
plus
something.
20% scaling is
Yeah,
the
it's-
initial hit,
yeah.
and then it's like maybe 20 to 60 plus 10% per tick. But yeah, I mean, if when you just look at any of her numbers in a vacuum, they are all really low. Like every single ability,
Yeah.
the ult is significantly less than like a min-range Vulcan ult. But it's all just kind of centered around facilitating the passive. And, I think it was a kit direction that I was really excited about and had to defend a good amount. I think, it is very different than a lot of other kit flows. But, I think one thing about Smite God design is we just have a lot of them now. We just
For
have a lot of
sure,
kits,
so
a lot of
many.
abilities. And then if you also consider not just the abilities that we have in the game, but every ability that's ever been reworked from any of our gods, that's something that some portion of our players have played with and formed an opinion on already. And that's just a lot of things that we want to make sure that we're staying, it has to feel like a Smite god. It has to feel like you're playing Smite. But how different can we make it feel without having to ask people to really learn a whole new mechanic? And so, I mean, I was thinking about some type of kit that, like, I have a note in my phone. I've got a notebook at home where I just like write down random ideas that come to me at random points of the day. And like, I think while Maui was still being worked on, I had a note in there of like, what a god kit where the passive is the most important part of the kit. Like,
Yeah.
and everything else is just about the passive. And it felt like Maman was a really good candidate for something like that. And I was definitely more nervous about her reveal and like PTS state and release than I was for like Eshell. Maui, your first
I feel
god,
like it's
that's
so much harder with jungle gods specifically because I know I've talked to you about Suki before as well on release, and I feel like like let's not beat around the bush. Like jungle's broken. Like it terrorizes people in queues. Like if you're
it just is the role with the most agency.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can just go wherever you want. And you have the ability to make anyone else's game feel bad, right? So like, if that character is one-shotting, I just think people have a much higher chance to be super annoyed about it and feel like, oh, I can't do anything. This is dumb. Like whatever. But then the other side of that coin is like, I'd still say Suki is like one of the most fun and interactive, like, or not fun and interactive. He's like, that was like the meme saying, he's one of the most fun and interesting, like assassin kits that I think have been put into the game because I feel like kind of what you said, like the way his ult feels or the way the character, like just the flow of like Suki, like 1 auto, 3 auto, and just like how quick that is and how like smooth it feels is so good. And I feel like, kind of your point, like with Maman, the idea of like I'm just here to proc the passive and you can like kind of min-max things of like, oh well, if I go like proc items or something, I can put their threshold lower and then like all the kit that I'm doing, like my passive will do more damage. And like there's counterplay on it too. Like there's items like people don't use it like this a lot, but like maybe a tip for other players is like if you just shell at the start of the fight, like after the shield is broken, it gives you damage like % damage mitigation. So if you use your shell like right away when a Maman goes in, and you're like % damage mitting her passive, stuff like that. Like it's just interesting counterplay that I think like mechanically it still feels similar to play with, but then like the actual like gameplay loop, kind of like you're saying, I think is cool.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, how do you balance from a design perspective, I'd imagine it's pretty frustrating to balance like, how can I bring something into the game that's really cool and know that people are going to think it's broken, but I'm going to do it anyways because I know they'll like it in the long run. Like, how's that sort of go on your guys' end?
Yeah, that's tough for sure. I mean, in this particular instance, like talking about Maman's 3, like we knew possession was a big part of her lore, and we knew we needed to get possession in her kit somewhere. And is there a world where she didn't have any type of possession? Of course, there are a million different lore items for every god that we could have gone to but didn't. But it's a ability type that comes up often and things that people want to see. And the way that it worked for Maman's 3 is kind of like, okay, we need an ability that evokes possession, that makes you think this is a possession ability. What is the least frustrating way to do that? And while this 3 is not frustrating, it is definitely frustrating to take damage from an untargetable character. It is in our opinion, it is significantly less frustrating than, say, losing control of your character.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, did you guys consider like mind control? Like,
yeah, it comes up in every God Brainstorm ever. Like,
that'd be so cool.
People
It'd
always
so
bring it up,
nuts.
but it's so technically difficult. Like, what about if I'm possessing you and I'm on 30 ping, but you're on 140?
Oh.
How is that working? Or
That's
you're
an
on
interesting
140,
thought.
I'm 30. You know, or vice versa. Like, there's a whole bunch of tech concerns, and then at the end of the day, it's like, is that there's abilities that are fun to use, and there are abilities that are fun to get hit, or like less fun to get hit by. The strength of the ability, the worse it feels to get hit by something, typically means the less strong the ability should be if we can help it. So there was no world in which the 3 was ever going to be the primary damage source for Maman, because we don't want it to be one-shotting you as often as possible.
Yeah,
basically.
that makes sense.
And it's like, you know, if we want a possession ability, we feel like this is the best way to evoke possession with some amount of tech that we already have, though, you know, every time I'm like, okay, we've got this in, this should be nice and easy. Oh, it actually like isn't, because coding and programming is like obscenely hard, and those guys are geniuses. But like there were a lot of things that ended up popping up ultimately. But either way, like we want a possession ability. We've got players are familiar with this type of mechanic already on Nox, and they are no one complains that Nox Dash is OP. Not a single person ever complains about it. It probably is, right? Like, in terms of the survivability that it provides to you, it's conditional, but it's very strong. Same can be said for Maman's 3, is that it's conditional. It's very risky, much riskier than Nox Dash, but it is very strong.
That depends on your teammates, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
If I'm getting Nox dashed in, you're going in, buddy.
Well, listen, I'm not changing my plans just because you decided to hop in.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean? Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Like, her dash, from playing it, if you miss it, you're dead.
You're dead.
You're dead.
Yep.
So I feel like that in itself is like pretty good balance for her, because you're going to be building mostly damage on her. Like, I built her tank in the game that I played her, and like, oh, it's fine that I missed my dash because I'm full tank.
Right.
But if you have damage items, then it's going to feel pretty bad. But maybe we'll see a world where people build her like a bruiser kind of like mage style.
Maybe. I think the fact that you're relying on your passive so much, and your passive has 0 base damage and it's all scaling, makes the tank build pretty, like, you have to get a good amount of power to be relevant, I think, because she doesn't bring very much disruption. You know, the knock-up is the lowest knock-up in the game. The stun is pretty easy to use your immunity for ahead of time at a high level. And her laning phase has got to be terrible in solo. I mean, I've tried it. It was terrible, which is what we wanted, because, you know, it's exciting to bring a mage assassin, but we typically only get to give every role 1 god per year. If we bring a mage assassin who's in the mage tab and then she ends up laning instead of jungling, they're going to feel pretty slighted.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of range nerf. Like, I think I increased the 2's range at some point, because it was her effective range was like so short. She was just really hard to play in team fights. But
that's what I noticed playing Arena 2, is that her effective range, other than the 2, feels really bad.
And even then, it doesn't even do, like, if you have your 2 on them and then you can't use anything else.
Right,
like,
it does basically nothing.
Yeah, it
exactly. Yeah, so we wanted the lane to be pretty bad. And yeah, I think I've been very happy that the community is open to the idea of this kit's damage is coming from the passive, which is not typical for Smite, but that the abilities themselves in a vacuum are independently weak. Are they weak enough? Is the passive too strong? We'll see. But I think the overall elevator pitch for the concept of the kit direction went well, and I was not always super confident that it would.
Her combos feel super good though. Like
Yeah.
I love like dashing in to someone and then coming out, or just like either opening. Like I feel like you well, as I was tank, I would just dash in. You probably wouldn't do that as full damage, I'm guessing.
No.
But like just ulting someone feels so good after you like dash them, ult them. I don't know. The way her kit flows feels really, really good. For like me going into playing her blindly, I wasn't expecting her kit to feel as good as it did, which I think is like a good sign, especially for someone, because she is really complicated. I feel like to play her like at a really high level. I feel like she's one of the highest skill gods probably that's been introduced into the game recently. I'm trying to think of who would be higher than her. I feel like she has to be the highest, like in recent years at least.
It's probably like Maui. Like Maui, I thought Maui was pretty hard.
Yamoja's pretty hard.
Yamoja is probably like the other god that I think of that's like on her level. Maui's hard, but I feel like everybody like Maui's hard to execute with, but I feel like everybody gets Maui at least when they play him. Like you understand like what you can do as Maui.
Sure.
I feel like when you play Mama, like if you don't play her a ton, like the combos you can do are not gonna be, like you're not gonna see it all the time. I feel like when you first start playing her, but then when you start doing some of the combos, it feels really good like in game, which I feel like is a good thing because that'll make people want to play her again and be like, oh, I could do this game, I could do this game. Like her gameplay loop is like it's like ever giving. Like there's so many different styles you can do, like so many different combos and like so many cool different things you can do with her, and like she's really good against just some characters. Like it's really cool. I saw I think I was watching Panatome play an arena game, I think, and he was playing it and he dashed into an Arachne when she ulted.
And, that's awesome.
And he was like, oh, and I was like, that's pretty sick.
That's awesome.
But yeah, like I feel like just the matchup she has with her dash, and then just the combo she has with her 1, her 2, and her ult is really cool. And like there's so many different things you can do with it, and it's like it looks like really intimidating, I feel like, from the outside, but once you play her once, you're like, oh, this is not too bad, and it's really cool to play her.
Yeah, that was like the big thing. I think the thing that I need to work on the most as a like character designer is I think my characters have been too hard, like as a whole. I think Maui, Ishel, and Maman are all not as simple as I could have made them and probably should have made them. But that was a lot of my focus with Maman is like, okay, I really want this loop to be preserved and this to be the focal point, but we need to make sure that it isn't so punishing to not do the loop that you just end up like totally being useless if you don't engage with it. Like there was a lot of discussion about how the 1 should work, like how many ticks, how much do we care about the fuel management mini game, like all that kind of stuff. It's a really fine line to walk on, like, okay, I want to reward players who are like really diving in, because that's the type of player that I am. Like I will watch 2-3 hour long YouTube videos before I ever like get a chance to play a character sometimes, and love it. Like I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I love hearing from experts on like, this is how to really get the most out of this thing. That's what I really like. So I want to reward that type of player because that's the type of player I am. But I also need to make sure that for, the player who only loads into their Nintendo Switch Arena, once a week, that they don't just get owned if they end up picking Maman. And that is still something that I need to hone in on, I think.
I actually can't wait to see the god. I hope she gets a lot of play in SPL, because I also just like
highlight plays.
I just think that's also funny. Like she'll be so fun to watch because not only can you get highlight plays, but I also can't wait to see people grief themselves. Like you dash into an ADC and the ADC just jumps into their whole team, and you're like, well, I'm dead. Like I want to see stuff like that.
That's
too.
gonna be so.
I remember
funny.
the first time it happened in a playtest where I think it was Chaos was playing Maman and Lermy was playing Thor against him. and Chaos is like, okay, I'm going in. Okay, I'm dashing into Thor. Like, Thor's going up. And I'm like looking up at the Thor, and she's like looking at me, and then she just turns around and looks towards her team, and Alex is like, no. She like ducks back. That is just totally into her own tier 2, and he just dies instantly. And he's like, well, that's fair.
Was there ever like a little like devil on your shoulder saying like, let the dash go forever? Like you go out of one person into another.
It was so the way we make gods is we make 3 kits. We do a bunch of brainstorms, all that kind of stuff. We know what role they're going to be. We know, we want them for Maui, for example. We knew we wanted his hook to be a focal point of the kit, and we wanted him to feel like strong and athletic. So you make 3 kits. We pitch those to the other designers. And then we go, okay, I kind of like the passive from kit 1, but the kit 3 alt is really sick. Like, how do we kind of make this cohesive? One of the Maman kits was that the possession dash was an ultimate that could chain.
That'd be so nuts.
That was one of the alt pitches, was that you could dash into one person and then dash, like, but you would have to aim each time, and it just ended up feeling ultimately
you'd
like
get old Rat Dash
Tsukiyomi.
complaints about that. Do you remember that, Rat?
Yeah.
I wish. Oh my god, I wish I could go back in time and just like play like old busted things every now and then, like old like Rat Dash where
That rat was sick.
you just go you just zip around, hit everybody.
It is very funny to me. Like, there was a thread recently about like who's your favorite Smite god designer of all time, and it's so funny to me. Like, players, and this is a constant thing. Like, they ask for things that they think in the short term will be fun, and they're right that it will be fun in the short term. And it's not their fault to not think about like the fallout and the consequences. Like, that's literally what our job is. But I could not believe how many people were saying like old Rat was their favorite back in the day.
They were the same people complaining about it for sure.
And rightfully so. It was broken.
Yeah,
like,
it was
so busted. It did so much damage, and he had so much mobility, impossible to hit, all that kind of stuff. But it's like, the same people who love old Rat kit will complain about, some other totally inane thing like Bloodforge getting attack speed, something like that. Like, something just obviously less offensive, and it's just so selective that you just kind of have to, like, I've talked about it before on like our Titan Forge dev podcast, and I think on my podcast as well, but like, I think I became a better designer and do my best design work when I just like let the feeling of like I have to try and solve this like go, because you can't, like, you just can't. For sure. You can't. It's an unsolvable puzzle, and it wouldn't even be that fun if we solved it.
I'm not gonna lie. I think that's why, like, part of the reason I think everybody loved Maui so much, because, like, the two of you kind of touched on, like, he's not an easy god to execute on. Like, the like skill of knowing like how to time his like 1 and his 3 and how to use them all, and then like let alone the 2. Like, there's a lot of things that are really difficult on that god. And I remember when he came out, everyone was like, there's a lot of people who was like kind of underwhelmed on like his damage. Then his damage got buffed a little bit. Now everyone was like, dude, this god's broken. I'm getting one shot and everything. But like, if you just think long term, you kind of get over it when you think about like just how cool his alt is and how like cool the 2 is, and like it's just kind of dumb to be like, oh, I'm getting owned in my casual conquest, where it's like maybe it's frustrating, but like long term, it's just like a really cool addition to the game.
Yeah, but we also can't make people have less fun in the short term and in justification for the long term.
Yeah,
I wish we could, and certainly there have been times where that's just like happening incidentally.
You could just say get better.
I mean, they could, or I could get smarter at figuring out how to solve their problems.
I cannot get smarter, so I can't.
I've been trying. I'll let you know if I find anything out on that.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
The one thing with Maui that I feel like I've been doing a little bit of coaching, and a lot of people play him. Like, I was surprised because like you were saying, like a lot of people that I've coached like to pick him, and especially if there's someone who's like, I guess not newer to the game but don't have as many hours like that I've coached. Like, I'm surprised that they go to Maui over like other picks, and they like him still, and they do a pretty good job. And like watching them play Maui, I'm always surprised in how good people can play him with like how complicated he is. Just like at a base level, because like everybody understands. I feel like the good thing about Maui too is like when you're Maui, your team understands what you can do as well. Like if you're charging your hook and you hit someone with it, people will actually follow up off your hook. The only thing I guess a lot of people don't really use the 2, but the good thing about his kit is like everybody, if you hit your 1, people are gonna follow up. And like if you're like Geb and you like Geb knock somebody up, like people won't follow up off the knock up all the time because it's like a lot shorter. Or you're playing someone like Ganesh as well. You Ganesh dash someone and you put yourself in there. You dash and no one follows up and you're like, okay, I guess I'm just dead because I don't do any damage. But like Maui hooks, everybody's going to hit the person that's hooked every single time. And I feel like abilities like that are really good. Like for a god that has like, I guess a high skill ceiling as well. But like everybody around him knows the power of it. Yeah. The one thing that I feel like people got a lot better at it as time went on and people get better is like using the 2, like especially in ranked. Yes. When I play it, I throw it out there. I'm like, please walk into it. I know. Walk into it, please.
Dude, you know the play that drove me the craziest when Maui first came out is whenever I had like lane pressure in duo and I like say I had like an Ishtar or something back then or Stern was played a lot and they just like, you know, they're just dash characters. We'd like clear the wave and I'd put my 2 like where I am and then I jump over to the purple one. I'm like, come invade this with me, you know, like just take this and I'll bring you in here. And then I see them walk all the way around and then the jungler comes and then I'm dead. And then I'm taking jungle gap plus ADC dumb. I lose my mind.
I have to admit to you guys, I was playtesting the other day. I was laning with Maui. I died. And there was a bubble waiting for me that would have definitely saved my life.
Oh,
and I didn't step on it. And I said, "Oh my God, it's my fault."
I even got into the habit of I literally put it down and I ping it like you know the context ping like the arrow. I ping it and I say, "Take this jungle buff." I literally
that's smart.
I do it every time. They still don't take it.
I'm too bad at VGS to do that. I have to be the worst VGSer in SPL's history.
That's really funny.
Say it.
Dude, I remember like forever ago I used to message you like in a scrim like oh like do you guys mind like leaving this god open or something like that, and sometimes you would just respond and you would just type something like no offense, just completely incoherent. I was just like, is he trolling me? Like what's he saying? But sometimes you've always said that you're just like the worst typer, and I never even like knew what that meant, but it makes sense.
One of the funniest things Sino always laughs about it. There's a tweet that in our group DM, we would always talk about patch notes. And I was out with Clumsy for his birthday the other day. And I would forget who I was talking to there. But we were talking about how people are bad at typing. I'm like, oh my God, that's totally me. And I showed them the tweet that in the group. We used to have like a group Twitter DM that we'd message stuff in. And Fafnir just had gotten nerfed in one of the patches. And the tweet is Faf, like with 2 Fs, got nerfy hard. I'll have to repost the tweet. It's like the funniest thing ever though. It's like Faf got nerf hard or something. And Sino thought that was the funniest thing forever because I would always type stuff. There's like a million of them like that. Divios has a bunch of them too. Divios was always dying laughing. He's like, what are you saying, dude? What are you saying? I don't have no clue what
That's
you're
so good.
telling me right now. But yeah, I'm the worst with that. But like the other thing with Maui too that I wanted to say, like his ult as well. Like you hit someone, it's very noticeable when you hit someone with Maui. Yes. Like
it's the biggest dopamine hit ever.
People will follow up off that as well. Yeah. Like you can roll in his Geb, ult them as well. Like Geb's like a perfect character where like you ult and then you're like, oh my God, I'm owning. I 2-0. I do half my health myself, and then you're alone and just get one shot. And you're like, okay, I'm dead. Yep. But like Maui, like you're gonna yank them into your team. If they don't hit the guy, they have to not be like their screen has to be off.
Right. They're looking at something else. Yeah. Right? I mean, I give a lot of credit to that actually, especially on the one that you were talking about earlier. I think a lot of that comes down to the hit sound. On the one and having a voice line that also plays whenever you hit someone with the one. Like sound cues are so important in all games, and in particular a MOBA where there's going to be so many things happening on your screen all the time, and the like meaty isn't the right word, but it's a very like deep rock hit sound whenever the one connects of like that bone hook like really grabbing onto someone. And I remember when our audio team, I think it was Chad who was working on it at the time, put that in, I was like, oh man, that made a huge difference. And I think that really does like direct everyone at that point in the team fight. And the same with the ult. I mean, the ult, like you said, it's visually very in your face, but also it is like a very distinct, like ripping this rock out of the ground sound that like really grabs people's attention.
I never even thought about the sound cue with the one that for
Yeah.
sure.
I
Like,
am
now,
so,
it's
like-
so good. Like now that I think about it,
It's a huge part of it, for sure.
Insanely good.
I always apologize to like Kellen, our audio lead, or whoever's working on my gods, because my dad was an audio engineer for 30 years. Grew up listening to him talk about audios, all that kind of stuff. And I am so annoying in our like God meetings about what will this sound like. Like I'm always asking for a million revisions, but that is like the thing for me is if it sounds right and sounds good, then it can cover up a lot of things that it isn't doing or really accentuate it really well. Getting Maman's like passive hit sound in and sounding right was like instantly made her so much more readable, so much easier to understand, and so much more fun to play, because when you hear the like shing,
It's so
shing, shing, shing,
satisfying,
like when you
yeah.
start like really like stacking them up, it's so good.
Do you on the sound? You guys know how they did the game forever ago, where you're like listening to the audio cue of abilities?
Yeah, battle sounds.
Yeah, Battle Sounds. That's the name. I forgot it. It like hearing the ability isolated compared to in game in the middle of a team fight. It can be so different.
Yep.
Is that difficult to balance when you're like hearing different like sound options on a character?
Yeah, all the time. We'll have a little meeting and we'll have it just in a test map and nothing else is happening. And I'm like, yeah, this sounds awesome. And then I'll go and play test it, and 3 people will be like, yeah, I didn't hear the ult sound at all. And sometimes that means there's an issue, but most often it means that it just isn't enough. Like when you listen to, especially the like Maui sounds, Maman sounds that are really, really intense, when you listen to that isolated thing, it like blows your eardrums out. You're like, oh my God, does it need to be that much? But it does. Like it really does, because there's just so many sounds happening when you're clearing a camp. Like think about
for sure.
the ambient conquest sound. If you have the music pack playing, or if you have your own music playing, the centaur hit sounds.
I was gonna say, like, literally just like the back harpies are so loud to me. Like they're little roaming harpies. If you just focus on them, they're so loud to me.
I mean, the speed buff that does like the rear back and like attack, that has a fire sound and a separate hit sound. Like there are a million sounds happening in the game at all times.
You guys just added the tiki sounds as well this past
Yep.
patch,
Yep.
and oh my God, it always scares the heck out of me in ranked. I'm like 4 ult. What is going on? Like I'm like after purple, I'm like I'm getting ganked again. Like I'm like, what is going on? It's just the tiki going boom boom or whatever, like the noise it makes. And I always think it's Thor ult for some reason. Like where did this Thor come from?
Dude, I played a random game with I like scrimmed on Tuesday on patch day. And then I played like a couple ranked games later that day with Cyclone. And he was like, "Oh, did you notice like the tiki sounds?" And I was like, "And I can't unhear it now. It's like the loudest thing on the map to me now." Like, I'm so like hyper aware of it. I'm like, "Ooh, new tiki!" This every time. I love it.
Yeah.
I always it scares the heck out of me. Like half the time I hear it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting ganked. I always think I'm getting ganked every time I hear it. And there's like, it's so funny because there's this one part on the map, for some reason, I always think there's like someone sitting like in front of like the purple buff, like with how the map is. Cause there's like a patch of like dirt there. And whenever I turn the corner, I'm like, oh, there's someone there. Like that's what I think in my head. And then I turn the corner, I see that patch of dirt, I hear the tiki noise. I'm like, oh my God, someone's actually here. And then no one's there. And I'm like, okay, wait, I'm going crazy.
That's like your Slender Man like type of thing.
That's
It's just
awesome.
like your sleep paralysis demon is just standing there in the dirt patch right by purple buff.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
But yeah, I hear the tiki noise. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting ganked every time. There has like, I'm like, what is going on? What? And then it's just, I'm like, oh, it's the tiki.
It's crazy how many of those things you take for granted, because even like I don't know if you guys feel this way, but there's even like some like games that I have nostalgia for, and like literally just hearing the soundtrack of the game. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like, I used to love that. Or like, yeah, I feel like that's something that I never think about when I first like play a new god or when I evaluate it. Like Maui is such a good example. Like I was not thinking of the sounds, but now it's like actually, you know what else is like that? Like Serbstun has always been that way to me. Like when you hear all 4 of the heads go, like it's like a crunching noise almost. It's so good. I love it.
Yep. Yeah, it can make a huge difference. I mean, I used to like, you know, when you're playing comp COD, you know, we weren't going to LANs or anything like that, but sweating game battles and all that kind of stuff.
Game battles.
You're using whatever guns are best, but like in casual like Call of Duty games, if I didn't like the way a gun sounded, I would never use it. Like,
oh, you know what gun was like that for me? Now you said it, the FAMAS. I always hated.
You hated it? The Black Ops 1 FAMAS? That was
no,
really
Black
fast?
Ops 1 FAMAS I liked.
Oh, yeah.
And every other FAMAS I hated because I wanted it to sound like the Black Ops 1 FAMAS.
The Black Ops 1 FAMAS was really like high pitched. It was it was way like sharper sound. The like MW2 one was way like punchier because it was the 3 burst.
Yeah. I loved it so much because it was like the sound of that with the hit markers were just it was so satisfying.
Dude, silenced UMP into hit markers or like the ACR sound.
Yeah.
I could literally like I could never recreate it, of course, but I can hear it like perfectly.
I hear that with like I used to play way more Halo than COD, but just like standard like burst battle rifle, like I can just you could just like say it and I'll just hear it instantly. It's so nice.
Yeah, that's I love that kind of stuff for sure.
I want to bring us back to like season 2. You said that's when you started playing comp, and then you joined the team with Elion and El Brochacho. Who else was on that team besides those 2 guys?
Brochacho was playing at that time, I think. I remember maybe he hadn't started playing with them yet. I can't remember exactly. If you would have asked me like 2 years ago, I would have had it for sure.
Was it Astral? Were you guys Astral at that point, or was that later
on?
No,
that was after I left.
That was after you left.
Yeah,
okay.
But I mean, I did play with Brochacho. I just can't remember if
you
he
guys
was on the team
SOAR?
right away.
Were you on SOAR with him?
Yes. Yeah, he was on SOAR with us.
That should
Wiggle.
have been at least mid-year season 3. Then it should have been. I feel like.
I retired from play. I got hired at High Res. Right before fall split of season 3.
Yeah, so I remember because this is why I wanted to bring it back. So you played all of season 2. So did you play in any other lands? Like was that when was the MLG land that you went to that you were talking about?
That was
earlier?
in early summer. I want to say. It was like May. I want to say
of season 2.
Yeah.
So how many more lands did you play with El Leon? Did you guys
we played at MLG? With him? Yeah, we played at MLG Columbus, and we lost to Paul. It was Paul, Freya, Shing, and Soup Kitchen, and I forget who their 5th was. It might have been Bronx. It might have been Bronx Bombers. I think, or no, Bronx
it was Freya. Probably. Right?
No, it was Paul Freya always, and then it was Shing, Soup Kitchen, and I forget their 5th. I think Bronx was playing with Homie Faye and Shadow Q on X something. I forget what the org that was.
Yeah, no, he was on that team. Yeah. He was like the after Denial, like Giga trolled like half the orgs.
They really did.
But
yeah, we played at MLG Columbus. We had to win a best of 3 against Paul's team. We went into that LAN feeling really, really good. We crushed them game 1. It wasn't even close. And then game 2, I actually think it's your fault, Aurora, that we lost. And your fault that we lost the set, because here's what happened, okay? You guys had just started popping off with Sobek Willix. You guys were dominating every game with Sobek Willix. It was like end of season 2, basically. And it was like, we beat them in like 24 minutes game 1. It wasn't even close. And then we had not played any Sobek Willix because Brochacho, no one was mechanically good, but Brochacho was particularly lacking in the mechanics department, is the kind way I'm going to say it. We crushed them game 1. We're in Picks and Bans game 2. That team, it was Uzi and Puka Bear was our ADC. And they picked like, I can't remember their top 2, but we were going into the second. We had first picked something. We're going into our second 2, and Elion is on my left. I'll literally like never forget this. He's like on my left, and he's like, "Bro," you know that face he gets when he's really excited. He's like, "Bro, we just picked Sobek Willix. It's going to be so free. And I'm like, Andy, we haven't played any Sobek Willix. Like, why don't we just pick the stuff that we've been picking? Like, we were crushing everyone at that time, except for Eager, but we were competitive with them. I was like, let's just pick what we were picking, man. And he's like, no, trust. It's so easy. And I was like, I don't know, man. I really don't think we should do it. And Brochacho is like, bro, give me Beck, bro. I'm gonna pop off. Like, they're not gonna be able to do anything. I'm gonna be hitting them. And I remember just being like, I don't know, man. And I look at Andy, and he's our best player. And he goes, if you pick me a Willix, I will win us the game. And I can't not pick it at that point, right? Because even if it's the wrong pick, it's going to put him in a bad mental state. So I'm like, all right, let's pick Sobek Willix. I don't think we hit a single Sobek Willix combo the entire game.
That's unlucky.
I think Brochacho died trying to pluck someone on their mid tower like twice in the early game.
Oh.
And
You could just 2, though. You just go...
You could.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we agree. Yeah, we lost that game. And then there was a little bit of tilt happening from some of my teammates. Brochacho just lost some confidence, I think, and Andy was tilted that we didn't win that game. And he did not look particularly good. And Andy was really young. You know, he was like a 15, 16.
Yeah.
He was a young kid and was definitely like an emotional player and felt those eyes on him even then and did not like when he didn't live up to his standards. He was really hard on himself. And so we go into game 3 and Uzzy got I hear Uzzy's playing Guan into he's playing Bologna into Guan. Bologna was really, really OP. And wave 2, he hits level 2, and I hear him go, oh, I got the wrong ability. First blood. like a second later. Sorry, it's like spit all over you. And Uzzy was just, you had a rough one that game. And yeah, we ended up losing that set. I was very displeased. That was a tough loss because Eager, that was to go to the finals of that event. Eager had already qualified for Worlds, and the way Worlds was set up, it was going to be 4 teams in the Xbox Invitational, and it was Eager had already qualified from winning the previous LAN, and they were going to play against the lowest seed, which was the open bracket slot. Joke's on them. That turns out to be Envy. On the other side of it was going to be the second seed in NA, and then the first seed in Europe. And European Xbox Smite
they were not boxers, yeah.
Awful. They were like, I mean this with the least amount of disrespect, and I'm about to say something incredibly disrespectful. Ranked games were like significantly harder. Like a team of Masters Xbox Smite players were about as experienced as that team was at that time. They ended up getting a lot better and were like real players in real teams. But at that time,
it was so early on.
It was so early on. Xbox was not nearly as popular, all that kind of stuff. They were really bad. That LAN win, even so, Paul's team goes on to lose in the finals of that MLG Columbus, but because they lost to Eager, they get the second seed, and I think they probably got like $10,000 a piece for coming in second that year at Worlds to Envy, and they got I think they beat the Xbox team in like 43 minutes total, in a best of 3. So if we had simply won, if we had picked Merc Raw like we had been practicing for months. Instead of Sobek Willix, then we would have made a lot more money. So that was unlucky.
I feel like that is like one of the hardest things though as a team that I've experienced it as well, where it's just like I'm always the believer of like just play what you practice. You don't switch it up on yourselves last second or even like the day before, unless the day before you find something that's insanely good and you're like, okay, we have to play this. Yeah. Like if everybody's bought into it, then for sure. But like you weren't bought into it. That would be different if you were.
No, I mean it was obviously a powerful comp, on its face. But
you guys, like you said, you were crushing everybody. Like if it's not broke,
don't fix
it.
And we had such reason. Dude, no one was playing Merc or Raw on Xbox that year, and I was never a very good mechanical player, but I I could hit my buttons off CC. You know what I mean? And I was a really good communicator and like fight pacer. And Raw would have just like destroyed teams who were not coordinated enough to dive it properly. And Andy and I had such good synergy. We would play that combo in ranked all the time, especially on Smurfs, and try and time it so that even if they beads the Merc ult, because I know if he says I'm going now, even if they beads, I can land raw snipe 100% of the time. And we were so clean on that pick, and it would have crushed. Like, it would have totally crushed. And I'm still that is maybe the thing that tilts me the most, except for the money that I lost, is that I know we would have popped, and that would have been a really hype. Like, that's a hype combo to watch. Yeah. And we would have done something really, some nasty stuff, and I'm sad we never got to play.
I feel like I want to say one more thing. I know you wanted to go to, Mike. Sorry, but the not broke don't fix it thing is huge. And then like when you're practicing those comps, like you're talking about, like you're so used to playing that. I feel like people don't realize from like, especially like a spectator watching the SPL, like if a team plays a comp and it looks really good, and then the spectators are like, why doesn't the other team just pick that? That's OP. Mm-hmm. But like, it's a lot, like, sure, some comps are easy, and I think it's really, really impressive, and I feel like it really goes, like, unnoticed a lot of the time when someone whips something out where they genuinely haven't practiced it in scrims, like, that much at all, and does really well with it with the team, especially if it's, like, a pick with CC or something like that. Like, I remember my most famous pick that we whipped out that did really well, but it's just because me and Bess were just like, we were like you and Elion were really good synergistically. Like, me and Bess can make anything work. We just communicated really well. The Sylvanas in the finals of the regionals or whatever it was called then, like, I pulled that out. We never practiced that combo one time, like Zeus Sylvanas. And like, I knew it was just going to be good because of the pressure that it brought. And like, I knew how Best plays Zeus. All I got to do is ult, and it's GG basically. Yep. But like, practicing with a combo is so important to make it work, because it's so hard to just be like, yep, I'm picking this and it's going to do it. And
that's what makes sorry, Mike, you can earmuffs this if you want. Maybe just turn down your thing right here. When Paul will like just 1v9'd on Scylla at Worlds that one year. Yeah. And then
that was crazy.
Afterwards, I think I was talking to Neil, and he was like, yeah, I didn't even know he played Scylla. Like, and he didn't play Scylla before that. He was just like, yeah, I think it actually just makes sense here. He'd played like one Scylla scrim the entire year, and then did that to them in the finals. Like, that is like easily
no,
the
he
best.
didn't own in the finals. But that's ridiculous.
Well, I mean,
on Scylla, no, dude, that was against them that he owned.
Oh no, you're right.
That was against them. He owned.
Yeah, exactly. No, in the finals, you're right. The Scylla pick
he did own much. Game 2. Well, he solo carried game 1 and game 2, not because he owned fights, but because he stole freaking like 4 fires. He did own one fight though. There was like a montage. It was like
when Sam dove the tier 2.
Yeah. Game 2, he owned Sam. He like flicked Scylla ulted him, and then he flicked it over the wall and hit Alec and like one shot both of them. I'm like, that sucks.
I don't know, bro. Sometimes like it's hard to like, like when I was I remember I was casting that set, and like you just kind of forget how when no one else is playing a pick and he's making it look so good for the vast majority of the time he's playing it, and then like I just like forgot that Scylla ult is like really hard to hit at some point in that set.
If you go play that sort of character and you're just like, what the heck, this doesn't.
It would be so cool if we could do something where we could simulate that like one scenario, and it's like, can you do what Paul did right here, like, and just see if you can land those 2 ults back to back in that time frame. Literally 0.001% of players.
I'm going to make Mike forget his point because I'm stealing it again. But when yesterday, I think Ven played Scylla, was against you guys. I think Sino played a rank game, and there was a Scylla, you said, that went like, he's like, yeah, man, he's like, I can't win. Like, Sino's been losing a bunch of his rank games. He's like, I can't win a rank game out of Scylla who went 1-9 and missed every ability. I'm like, did you happen to play that game after Ven played it? And he's like, oh yeah, that's probably why he played Scylla. He's like, why did Ven play Scylla?
Yeah,
Making me lose ranked games, but it's so funny.
Dude, it's stuff like that, what you guys were talking about earlier with like the synergy between picks. I literally have had that argument like the past 2 weekends with teammates where it's like, it's such a like fine line to balance because I also want to like play what we practice, play what you're good at. Like even small things with combos, like there's stuff like, there's like me and Liam did it yesterday or vote. Like there's stuff like, oh, well, you know, like I'm going to Zeus, like alt off your like Sylvanas thing or like, oh, if you root, I can just 2-1 off of it or like small stuff like that. But there's also like combos that are as simple as like we played Freya Afro and like normally I always alt first. Like he lets me alt first and a couple times yesterday, like you alt at the same time. And like it's even small stuff like that being practiced on it is so important.
Yep.
But then on the other end of the spectrum, the story with Andy or Elion is so annoying. Like not annoying because you like he brings it up because I'm also like I also want to trust a teammate if they like
100%
want a certain pick or if they're feeling it like
100%.
I don't see or feel the game the way they're seeing it from their role, like especially if they're not in duo lane with me. Like I don't get to see everything, so I'm just like if you have like a gut instinct, like I really want to go with it. But it's also really hard because like there's times in draft where I'm like, oh yeah, I want to pick this, and they're like, oh well, this pick might be better for me, and like I'm not gonna. Something I learned from like previous teammates is just like they didn't even say it, but you can just tell like if you fight them back on that, like what you said, like their confidence is sacked a little bit, or they feel like they're just more on edge because they're like, oh, this game's harder for me, and if I make a mistake, like it's really hard to like just go into a game and play off your instincts and just like play really free and just like. It's kind of like a cliche, but like unironically, like just have fun with like the stuff you practice. It like if you can turn your brain off and just only focus on comms, and you're just so used to your characters that you can just play them, like you're so much more dangerous as a team.
Yeah, I feel like you have to get on. It's really important for a team when you're playing. I feel like all the teams that I've been on that have done really well have achieved this at certain points, and it's really hard to keep it as well as like. Everybody's in sync. Like someone says like, oh, I'm like when we picked Sylvanas Zeus, it probably helps because we were winning so much as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, if they do this, we're picking Sylvanas Zeus and we're gonna literally run it down harder than they can. Like we're gonna have way more pressure. They're gonna try to match what we do, and we're just gonna do it better because we have better gods. And everybody bought into that right away. Even though we didn't practice that, everybody's like, yeah, let's do it. Like if you have everybody on the same page right away, it's way easier to do those kind of things. But like if everybody's like not in sync and you pick a pick that's like kind of off kilter, like for instance, like I'll even bring up an example of this year. Like I wanted to try Outwash. Like I tried it a couple scrims, it went okay. I went 0-8 in the SPL game, but like everybody was like about it. Like it's like I just wanted to try the pick out. I wanted to see how it would do in an SPL game. It did not go well. But, like, I thought there was potential, and I think we talked about it last time. You're like, 9 out of 10 games, like, it probably doesn't go that bad.
No
like,
way, yeah.
Right.
But, like, that's, like, a perfect example of where everybody on the team is, like they're like, yeah, go for it. Like, it's not like, they're not, like, just insta-locking it, not saying anything like, yeah, let's do this. Like, it's like, everybody has to be in sync, and I feel like, if you ever hit that point, it makes everything so much easier. But you kind of have to like earn your way to that. Everybody has to work towards that on the team to get there. And also like sometimes it still might not even work. So it's just it's definitely a very like push-pull type of thing that requires a lot of trust from everybody in your team to make work. And I feel like it's really cool when it does happen.
Yeah.
Like the Paul Scylla thing is probably like one of the biggest examples of that. Cause I think he played it with, from what I remember, cause he used to queue a lot of ranked with Scary and Scary played jungle, and, Scary and Paul told me about like why he played Scylla is cause he played it with Scary, like just in random rank queues, and Scary kept telling him, play it in scrims, play it in SQL. I'm like, Paul's like, eh. And then he actually whipped it out cause Scary kept pushing him to pick it. And then he did that on it. So.
Yeah,
he played it like almost every game that tournament.
Yeah,
like
he didn't lose. He didn't lose on it until the finals, really, like a whole lot.
No,
so.
he went 2-2, and it definitely wasn't bad.
Yeah, he was down 2-0 in that set, and then Scary's like, "You gotta whip it out before we get out of here."
Yeah,
and he did, and It worked.
Sure did. That guy's just the GOAT, bro. I don't know.
Wait, is that when he did it? Was it game 3 against what was it? Were they
Cherries
SSG?
team.
Yeah.
It was game 3.
That was the first game he played.
That was the first
it?
game.
Oh, that's so troll.
Because Scary's like, you have to play it. Because I remember Scary was the one who queued with him a lot in ranked, and that's when he played it. I don't think he really played it in scrims like ever once. And he would just play it in ranked with Scary like to troll. And Scary thought it was really good when he played it, and he was the one who pushed him to pick it. So
that's an example of like when your back's against the wall like that. I love when like. I feel like normally you can see a team that's down 0-2 like do pretty well in game 3 because you just kind of feel free at that point. You're like, we've already like made mistakes or like whatever. Like you just can't think about it anymore. Like let's just change it up, do something different, see what happens. And like if you get one game, you just never know how that can change like the one after that and the next one. You know.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. For sure. Wait, what was I saying before we started talking about Scylla? I think I was talking about something, wasn't I?
You were talking about.
Oh, we were talking about Chad. I actually did want to ask about Chad. You said something about there's a guy on the audio team named Chad.
Yeah, Chad. Yeah.
Yeah. How many people are on the audio team?
I mean, it's like Kellen is the main guy, and then sometimes we outsource. Sometimes we use people from other like sound departments in underneath high res. Like, but Kellen is like the only mainstay guy right now.
Oh, okay. So, like for example, like if I hear a new character, I'm like, oh, Chad went off with that. I probably like it doesn't really.
No,
work.
you won't be 100% on that, unfortunately. No.
Okay.
But fine. I did get lucky to have Chad on both Maui and Maman.
So you like cool. Chad more?
I mean, he's goated, but so is Kellen. You know, I'm not even kidding.
Give me a real caster answer right here.
Maybe Kellen tries to run away from you because you always ask for revisions.
You're probably right. Yeah. Probably true. He's like, Chad, you can deal with him. your turn. I'm like, hey man, are you ready to have a lot of extra work? Hey buddy.
That's funny.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you about like the lands, like all those lands, like MLG Columbus. Like, what was it like outside of the games? Like, what did you guys do?
Oh, it was so fun, man.
Because like the lands here, everybody knows like the Staybridge saga stories. I think we should do an episode talking about stuff that happens at Staybridge.
You're gonna have to come up with.
There's
some,
a lot of
player
legends.
X.
There's a lot of legends we need for that.
But we'll have to like probably not give
That's
names.
Such a good idea.
But it'd be a fun episode to do because there's so many Staybridge stories that are like insane. I feel
there are a lot of
insane
really ones for sure. No, it was console lands were definitely different just because of. You know, the console players were just like they're cut from a different cloth for the most part than a lot of the PC guys.
Yeah.
They were definitely like a little bit more
rowdy,
a little more confrontational. I would say, but it was a lot of fun. The thing I remember the most about MLG Columbus was Andy's from Miami. He had never been. It was in November, I want to say. Or October, but it was like snowing and cold. And he was like, bro, what do I do beforehand? And I was like, okay, Andy, here's what you do. You got to go to like a department store and get like a jacket and gloves and a hat and make sure you bring those. And he was like, are you for real, dog? Like, do I really need this? And I was like, yeah, man.
He showed up in a t-shirt.
No, he showed up with like Gucci gloves, like this really expensive jacket, and he was like, and like this like little skull cap, and I see him, and he's like outside, he's like shivering, he's like, bro, this is fucking bullshit. Like, I mean, he's wearing like easily $500 worth of stuff, and this is MLG Columbus season 2.
That's too funny.
That was before he was making like
That's
really
awesome.
big stream money or anything like that, but he just like wanted to splurge because he was going out and traveling and. I remember he lost a glove at one point and he was like, bro, that glove, I got to find it. Like, I can't lose it. That thing was too expensive. And so I was like out in the parking lot of our hotel with him, like looking for where he dropped this glove while he was like walking to the gas station or something like that. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, I had a blast teaming with him and with Chach in particular and Uzi. Like those are guys who I miss teaming with for sure. And all very... You know, Andy and I are like two of the most opposite people of all time, probably. But that's just like what made it fun, you know, is that both of us were like working towards the same goal. just coming at it from two completely different angles and just like finding a way to make it work because we wanted it, which was really, really fun.
Dude, Chacho and Chapo at the time, but Elio now, like, they were my like first SEC teammates, and just the energy they have,
bro,
it's so fun to play with them.
Easily some of my favorite memories of any games ever are just like playing with those two for sure. Bro, that reminds me. Okay, so I was thinking, like, I remember when I was telling the story about our Elevate gamer tags got taken. I was like, what did I end up changing my name to? And I made my gamer tag Elevate El Aggro because it was El Chapo and El Bro Chacho. And there was like this bit that I had like earned my L from like being with them for long enough. Chach, I flamed him earlier for his mechanics, and I'd do it again. That guy couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat on Xbox, but just one of the best teammates you could ever
Such
ask
a good
for.
guy.
Like,
I
best
love playing with him,
best teammate ever. Like, that guy made me so confident. It was crazy.
You know what was cool about that guy too? I've like told this story before. I won't go through the whole thing, but like, those two were queuing ranked game. They literally picked me up from ranked, and they just needed a solo laner. And he's like, I played support, and we won the game. And he's like, don't worry about it. Like, I'll, like, just zero ego, zero like hesitancy. He's like, I'll role swap. I'll play solo. You play support. And it like worked. And it's just like, not many people would do that, where they're just like, dude, let's just do it. Like, let's see what happens. He's like so like welcoming and has such like a good attitude. He's just absolutely goated, dude.
Yep, love that guy.
I feel like he was like Neil Ma before Neil Ma, kind of.
Yeah.
Like he was like the council Neil Ma.
He was like Neil Moff instead of growing up in like middle of nowhere Canada. It was like Miami.
Yeah,
you know, like that's
I feel like he uplifts, like that's like he had like a power to like uplift his team, and I feel like that's what Neil does too. Like all the teams he's on.
Andy, if you were hitting all your buttons, Chapo, Andy, he would make you feel really confident, and really good. But if you missed 2 buttons, he would not be making you feel super confident.
No, I was talking about Chacho.
Right, but that's what I was going to say. But Chach, I could miss 3 ults in a row. I hit 1 off of his Athena ton. He's like, good shit, Papo. That's what I'm talking about, baby. I'm like, yeah, I'm nuts. He's like, that was sick. That timing was so good. And I'm like, it could have been early. He's like, yeah, it could have been earlier. He's like, yeah, you're right, but it was good. Like awesome. That's just the kind of guy he was. And he was so much much fun.
You know what else makes that group fun? Is just the constant love-hate relationship between Chapo and Uzi. There has never been a combo of teammates that has kicked them more than that guy.
He didn't kick Uzi. I had to every time. That was my job. But bro, the amount of times I kicked Uzi in like a 10-month span is criminal. Like, I swear I kicked that guy like 4 times in 10 months. It was crazy because Xbox was just the Wild West of roster changes. Like we were just roster changing all the time, and it was just this constant cycle of Andy would be like playing with Uzi. He'd come to me and be like, bro, I'm telling him to tell me when we can invade blue, and he just won't say anything. Like, we got to kick him. And I'm like, no, we don't. Like, yeah, he's not great at that, but we'll keep working on it. He's like, bro, I'm telling him every scrim, and he's not doing it. I can't play with him. He's got to go. We'll get Seal Car. He's better. He'll tell me when his blues are coming up. And eventually, that's just the player he was. Probably could have done a little bit better about reining him in, but it is what it is. I was like, Uzi, you got a sec, man?
Oh my God.
That's sorry, bro. That's how it's got to go. We play with Seal Car for a little bit. Uzi starts crapping on Seal Car in scrims, and he's like, "Yo, I think Uzi might have changed. Like, we should get him again." So we pick up Uzi. It's great for like a month. They're on blues. Everything's going awesome. Uzi's playing Nuwa solo again. We can't stop him. It's whatever. A month later, bro, Uzi just won't talk to me when I need to invade the blues. We got to get rid of him. It's the same problem. I'm like, oh my God. And then the worst one was definitely when Kurt, after season 2, he didn't have a roster, and he came to Andy and was like, yo, I want to play on your team. And Andy was like, bet. And he like messages me. He's like, yo, Weekend wants to join. We're kicking Uzi. I'm going solo. And I'm like, wait, Uzi's playing really well. Do we have to kick him? And he's like, yep, I'm only playing solo. You know who had to do that call? This chump. Here's the deal, Uzi. Sorry, bro. Andy's playing solo now, I guess, is the thing. But yeah, I mean.
So you play with Weekend as well, then?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was fun. Kurt was I kind of expected him to come in and be like, all right, here's how you play Smite, morons, because that's really what that team had done to us. We scrim them like all the time leading up to Season 2 Worlds. And I would like Allied was playing mid. I would DM with Allied like literally every day talking about what I was doing in scrims, what he was doing, like trying to learn how to play. I remember Uzi was having a really tough time laning against Omega in those scrims. Like Omega was literally coming out of solo lane like 4 levels up every single game. And I remember we didn't scrim them for like a week, and Uzi's like the chillest guy of all time, right? Like that guy is never pressed about anything. He also like, you know, it's like, yeah, I owned him. Yeah, I just did. Or, you know, whatever. It wasn't that he didn't try or by any means, but I had never seen him focus to that level that he did for like, after he had gotten really humbled by Omega. We came back after like, they didn't scrim for like a week, and Uzi like soloed him twice in a scrim. And Allied DM'd me a quote from Omega, which was, I think I just taught this fucking guy how to lane. Like, what the hell? Like, where did that come from? And Uzi was like a totally transformed player after like those few months. Still got kicked because Andy was going solo, though. You know what I mean?
Well,
But yeah, so I kind of expected Kurt to come in and kind of like, Andy was very much, especially in the early days, he wanted to control all of the comms, as you guys can probably tell by the way.
I played with him as well.
Yeah,
so
like he really wanted total control. And Kurt, you know, we knew was a leader for Envy and did a lot of shot calling and that kind of stuff. So I was expecting him to come in and do a lot of that, and that wasn't really what happened. And I think now in retrospect, it was 2 different things. One, the Andy's style of comms at that time is not how anyone who was successful as a team was communicating. And 2, Kurt wasn't that pressed about how he was performing. And I don't put any blame on him for that. You know, there was definitely his backup plan. It was off-season scrims. He was down to scrim as often as we wanted to. Like, it wasn't like he wasn't showing up or showing up late or not trying, but he just wasn't given 100% in comms, and I wasn't, you know, worried about that at all. But he was always super down to, you know, talk about it afterwards, go over what he thought we were doing wrong, talk about team stuff. Like he was a great teammate by all accounts.
I like playing with Kurt too. There was like every teammate has their like pros and cons, obviously, but like I never had like Kurt in terms of like he's one of the people that when you have like an issue on a team, he doesn't make you like feel bad about bringing it up, and I feel like that's such a good attribute to have as a teammate.
I remember the first time I thought he had really fucked a fight in a 2v2 in mid that I had played correctly and he didn't. And I was like, you know, someone was like, oh, so what went wrong like early that game? And I was like, well, I think, Kurt, I think if you would have gone on, that's how he's like, what are you saying? I'm like, well, I think you hit the wrong guy. He's like, oh, yeah, I did. My bad. And I was like, oh, okay. He's not an asshole. Cool. And then we were totally good. Like I could criticize him after that. He spent a lot more time criticizing me, deservedly so. And it was all good. And I gained a lot of respect for him, especially because we were talking with different orgs while he was there. And obviously he's so locked into the business side of esports and all that kind of stuff. And we had made... I forget what we were making on Elevate at the time, but we actually had a monthly salary that was like, I don't know, $300-400 or something like that on Elevate.
No, like,
season 2.
But did you have the salary?
When they felt like it, yeah.
Okay.
You know, it was late a couple times, or you know, we didn't necessarily get our jerseys for lands or anything like that, but you know, it is what it is. But when Kurt was on the team, we obviously got a lot more interest from a lot of orgs. And I remember talking to Soar at the time, and Soar was saying that they would pay Kurt for that time, again, beginning of season 3, Xbox Smite League, like they were offering him an insane amount of money, and we would get like, I don't know, $400 a month, and they were gonna just ballpark. I have no idea if this is right, like $2,500 a month for Kurt. 400 for the rest of us. And he was like, my number's about right, but everyone else needs to be at least 800 or I'm not going to sign. And he very easily could have asked for $400 more for him, instead of looking out for us, which I thought was a really good man move. Right before we were about to sign that contract, Kurt gets an offer to go play on PC again. And then that next meeting with the SOAR guys was a little more awkward. So we were like, so what are we looking at salary-wise now that we don't have the biggest content creator?
So unlucky.
And that was definitely reflected in the offer that we got and the treatment that we got. But, it is what it is. But yeah, he... I had no complaints playing with him at any time. It was a fun experience for sure.
Nice. So you were on that team with him, and then you played. You said you joined Hi-Rez. I remember the first LAN. Was it the group stage LANs that you were at? There was some Xbox LAN you played at before the group stage LANs, I think, right?
No, I didn't play. I guest casted.
You guest casted. Because I remember I showed up and. I remember I saw you for the first time. I'm like, is this a new caster? And I'm like, I wonder what this guy is doing here. Like, I was curious. I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Because I guest casted before, and I like at Season 2 Worlds. I've done some of the other LANs before that as well. So I knew like everybody around like production. I knew all the casters. I knew basically everybody that was like at Hi-Rez. Like I knew everybody pretty well, I feel like. And I've never seen you before. I'm like, who's this new guy like walking around like with all the casters and stuff? And was it the group stages that you were there for?
Yep. Yeah, the super regional like group stages.
Was it was it before?
Oh, it was before super regionals. It was the 4 group stage LAN. Yeah.
So was it that?
Yep, I was there for that.
That was your first. That was like your
my first PC
thing?
LAN. Yeah. It was pretty. Because I think my start date was September 1st, I want to say. And I think that those were probably like mid to end of September. Like not that much. I don't think that there was a whole lot of regular season, if any, of SPL.
That was like a single round robin. It was really quick. We played like 2 matches a week. It was done in like a month or less.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we basically didn't qualify for the summer LAN due to some extremely unlucky circumstances, such as I scheduled a vacation based on a bye week. Cooper decided that was no longer going to be the bye week. So I missed some games there. We lost a game we shouldn't have lost because I was traveling for a different vacation and I played on like 2 hours of sleep on terrible internet. So we split a set against Most Wanted, which was Clow and Sino's team. And then we had a 2-0 eager to go to the LAN. And Keeg slept through a set against a winless team. And we couldn't convince Cooper to let us play the set with an easy Anubis bot as our 5th as we tried.
Unlucky.
You think you would have won with the easy Anubis
100%.
Bot? Really? They were that bad?
Yes.
Wow.
We would have crushed them.
What if they just got farmed off the Anubis bot?
Doesn't matter. We were farming their mid laner. Like it did not matter. That team was terrible.
To be fair, you picked a really OP bot.
It's true. I would have taken any bot they wanted. Their choice on bot, we're winning. That's all I'm saying. If we could have played 4v5, I really think we would have won that set. We were the best team because we had a kind of revolving door of ADCs as a team, and we never really found the right one. And then we picked up Keegs, and Keegs obviously had a lot of shortcomings as a player, like say showing up.
He was really good mechanically. I don't know how he was on box.
Unbelievable mechanically.
PC, he was
better than everybody else mechanically on Xbox. He was just better than everyone else, and it was so much easier because I never wanted to be like the carry backliner, but every ADC we played with like wasn't really able to be the primary like backline damage dealer, and it let me be more of a facilitator, which is my inherent play style. And we were I think we were the best team that year by like a country mile. The only set that we didn't win on full strength and we ended up losing was the second we 2-0'd eager to start the year or to start the phase. Then we had to 2-0 them again in order to make LAN. And we picked the world's worst 3v3 in mid of all time. We picked Giannis, Alquang, Ares as our mid 3v3.
They got a little heart word in there, and you guys were done for.
Well, they never even fought us because that was when Fafnir had just come out, and I was saying that Fafnir was really OP and that we should ban it. And Chach goes, "Nah, bro, I'll just chain him after he ults. He's in place. I can't miss the chain. And bro, Chacho loves his Ares pick.
Did he miss the timing?
No, we never saw them because they just walked to every objective, killed it in 2 seconds, and left.
Yep.
I finished that game 0-0-0 as Giannis.
Your KDA saving.
I wasn't trying to. They never fought us. Like I could have certainly died at some point. It's a great regret of my playing career that I didn't.
I didn't end that game,
bro. It was before the global fire giant sound was a thing. I remember I had the fire timer.
That actually is hard.
I had the fire timer. I said, okay, fire's at 31:20. Let's be there. We show up at 31:22. It's gone and they're all gone.
Oh yeah, no, you got to be there quicker.
They played Soul. They played Soul mid, Bastet when she had the cats.
Delta Marine played the Poseidon solo.
No, Delta Marine played Soul mid.
Oh,
he was a Soul mid one trick.
Oh yeah, DeWorst is the Soul.
Yeah, DeWorst played like Xing Chen or something else because he's DeWorst. And Air Cougar just had like a regular hunter, and they literally did a fire giant from spawn to kill in less than 2 seconds. Like because he just had Frenzy, Soul,
awesome.
Bastet cats, and they were out of there, and they just never fought us. And it was really they played really well. They beat us there, and then we had a really troll game too, because we had to win that game in order to go to LAN. But at MLG Columbus, I had gotten to know F. Dot and Adonis a good amount. We had like gone out for drinks, and I knew that getting into casting was something that I was interested in because I went to school for on-camera broadcasting.
Yeah, you had a background. So what'd you do before you went into Smite?
I went to school. I wanted to be on like SportsCenter basically because like every kid my age wanted to be on SportsCenter because like Stuart Scott and John Buccigross and all that kind of stuff. Like it was just the best TV show of all time.
I fell down the rabbit hole like literally last week of watching their old like commercials.
Dude, they're so good.
They're so funny.
I love the one with Scott Van Pelt and Jimmy Rollins where they're like doing the VOD review.
Oh, it's
like,
yes.
Oh my God. See this elbow right here, and he's like, yeah, I don't know where that's coming from, but that's like a real. I swear to God, that's a real thing. Like that actually does happen to people on camera. But anyways, yeah, I wanted to do that, and I was working at CBS Radio when I first started playing comp. I was like covering the Pirates, and I loved it, and it was really fun because I was at every home game for the Pirates for 2 years with
That's a baseball team, right?
Yeah, the baseball team.
Yeah,
and I love
Pirates.
baseball because baseball is just sports MOBA. That's all it is. And there's like a lot of, I was in the locker room doing interviews with all the players and all that kind of stuff. It was super cool. But I was also like working super hard and making $8 an hour. And that was less chill because there is a path to a long-term career, but if you want to get into TV, your options are don't or move to middle of nowhere Iowa for 2 years, and then you get to move to outside of, Helena, Montana, like the biggest town in Montana for another 2 years, and then you get to go to like Iowa City, Iowa, to cover Iowa State. You'll be there for 3 years, and then you'll go to Ann Arbor, Michigan, like a slightly bigger, you have to put in so much time.
And you have to get lucky too.
You have to get so lucky because there's what my on-camera teacher always said was there is on average 12 open on-camera positions across the country every year. 12 open up per year on average.
That's nuts.
You have to be better than not only everyone except for 11 other people in your year, but everyone who didn't get a job the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. And if you don't feel confident that you're better than that many people, you shouldn't do this. And I just didn't want to move all around in these small towns forever. Is why I really didn't go down that path. But I did really like working in radio, but there's a big advantage that these companies have when you're working in an industry that they know that it's a really fun job. It's really exciting. It's really like, who wouldn't want to get paid to go sit in the press box at your favorite team's games and get to go interview the players and all that kind of stuff. They only pay you because they have to, and when I went in and said, hey, I've been doing this for 2 years. I've been doing really good work. I'd like to make more than $8 an hour. And they said, no, you actually just get too much overtime anyways. So we're going to start cutting you on longer homestands. And I was like, okay, well then you should just find someone else because I quit. And it was like, okay. And they found someone else to do it for $8 an hour. And that's the way it works.
Yep.
But yeah, so I had known like that was frustrating me and at CBS. And I was like, I've got this background in on camera talent. I really love Smite. I love the Pro League. I follow it really closely. It'd be cool to cast. Maybe I'll try and become a caster for like a year. And if it doesn't work out after that, I'll figure something else out. And so I went and I talked to FDOT and Adonis at that LAN and just kind of introduced myself and gave them my background and got to know them a little bit. And then when we didn't make LAN, I messaged them and was like, hey, I don't know if it's like in the budget or in the plans or whatever, but if you guys want a guest caster, I'd love to like come down and get some practice. And I had never...
So you reached out to them?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I DM'd them. And I had never casted. Even when I wanted to be on like SportsCenter, I never wanted to do play-by-play because I didn't think that was really like my strong suit, and I didn't think I had really had the voice for it. If you go back and listen to my early casts, my voice is like so much higher, and it just got lowered from like years of screaming all the time and casting a whole bunch. But I came down. It went really well. I had a ton of fun. I did pretty well, I think. And then I remember I got back to Pittsburgh on Monday. I like took a nap because I hadn't slept, of course, or whatever. And then I woke up to a message from Adonis saying, yo, if we offered you a job, would you move to Atlanta? And I was like, yeah, like, yeah,
so
that's
how'd
kind of
your
what I want.
family take that when you told them like, yo, I'm going to go cast a video game? Like,
they were like, what the fuck does that even mean? They were like, what is that? Like they had no idea. But they were like, yeah, you should go for it. My girlfriend at the time, now wife, was like, yeah, fuck it. Like, let's do it. The craziest part was that, I had to do like a couple interviews or whatever. And then they gave me the job and they were like, yeah, but I think it was the group stage LAN. Like those are starting in like 3 weeks. So could you like get down here in 2 weeks and like start in 2 weeks? And I was like, sure. Like not even thinking about it. Cause I had never moved for a job or anything like that. I should have absolutely told them.
Dude, that was the biggest coin
that.
flip.
Crazy.
Biggest coin flip. I'm like, maybe Joe could dump me over that.
That never even crossed my mind. It should have.
Yeah, like that's actually a coin flip.
Oh,
but
for
at the
sure.
same time, if she stuck through with you with that,
Oh,
I feel
yeah,
like
for sure.
those things that if you can make it through that, you can make it through anything. Like crazy
100%.
moves like
Big
that.
leap of faith. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really
100%. No, huge credit to her for sure. But yeah, we got our entire lives packed up in 2 weeks and moved down to Georgia. And
So did you guys drive like? So you just drove from Pittsburgh to Georgia with all your stuff?
They love that
No,
drive. They do it all the time.
yeah, we do. We do that drive twice a year typically, and it sucks ass. We packed up a huge truck, and then it's like a company that will like drive it themselves.
Yeah.
So we drove our 2 cars down. And then it just so happened that one of my mom's very good friends from high school, lives in Roswell. So we stayed with them for a few weeks. And then when the truck got here, we had to unload it ourselves into a storage unit. And then like 5 days later, we got our apartment. So then we had to unload it again, all out of the storage unit and like into our apartment. And
must have been so much work.
It was
moving is hard if you haven't done it before.
The worst.
I've had to move these past 5 years. I've had to do it a couple times now, and
exhausting.
It's maybe the least fun thing in the entire world to me.
It is so unfun. Yeah.
I feel like the way you move is like you cram it, like you do everything,
throw it away.
Yeah,
well, because what are you gonna do? Like
you're just like GG.
You can't pre-pack the things that you use on a daily basis. So you almost start, dude.
You just got to throw as much stuff away as possible.
Yeah.
If you don't need it, throw it away. It is so much easier. I promise. Like, we moved so many shitty IKEA like nightstands down from Pittsburgh. Like, why the fuck did we pack all that? Like, just throw it away, man. It's so not worth it because then it's damaged and you got to get rid of it anyways. Like
Dude, the worst thing about moving, like kind of what you said about the like part of it is your things can get damaged on the way. Like, not only is it like a pain in the ass to like physically move the things, but it's also one of the most mentally stressful things ever. Like,
awful.
Especially if it's out of an apartment. I don't know if you felt this way because you've lived in a couple apartments down here, right? Like, not only do you have to move all your stuff and it's crammed, but you also have to make sure that you don't like enter your security deposit on the apartment by like you got to like go back and clean everything. Like, it's so annoying.
Yeah, I literally moved myself. Me and Kabam helped me move out of the first apartment that we had down here. And he was the one, we moved everything, the couches, literally everything. We lifted everything. And I was like, okay, if I'm fortunate enough to hire movers, the next time I move, I'm doing it. And I did it. And moving,
they're worth the money.
Even with movers, it's still not,
awful.
It's still a process, but it makes it a lot easier. Like if you can afford it and you're fortunate enough to have movers help you, it is so much nicer than trying to do everything yourself. I remember me and Kabam trying to carry the couch down three stories of stairs, and we're like, okay, one down. Here we go again. And we were just moving everything, and I was like, okay, this is not. I should not be doing this. Like, this is not a good idea for me.
Dude, I helped. I reinforced it with my girlfriend Leah. I helped her move out of her apartment in Indiana before she moved in with me. Mm-hmm. She had a couch, 2 couches actually. They were part of like a 2-piece couch. It was like an L-shaped couch, way too big for her apartment. Like, so she like took the 2 pieces apart and she put them in different parts of her like living room or whatever, or her apartment. You can't get them out the door. They don't fit out the door. Even if you do cram it out the door and scrape the walls on the way to it, they can't get down the staircase or out that other door because she was on the 2nd floor. She had like a small balcony. She had to call her uncle who had a truck who lived like an hour away, who had to bring his truck, and he backed it up into the grass between 2 apartment buildings, and I had to flip it over the balcony. I flipped it over the balcony and or he did it, and me and her brother caught the couch and put it in the truck. And that's
Holy shit.
And then I was like, isn't this nuts to you? She's like, no, that's how we got it in there. And I'm like, yeah, just so you know, fuck that. I'm paying for movers. Like, I will save so much if I have to. I'm paying for movers.
It is
not a shot.
It is so worth your money. And honestly, like, we won't live in the house we're living in forever. There are things like, I'm trying to just accept it now. We have a couch that I love. Our couch is so comfy. I love our couch. I don't want to move that thing. It can stay. I don't want to deal with it. It's just not worth it. It's just not. Like, especially if it's, like if we're moving like 45 minutes away, or if, one day we move back to Pittsburgh or somewhere else, like, I'm not worried about it. I just can't be asked, bro. It's too much. It's too much to worry about. It really is.
Honestly, that's how apartment complexes absolutely own you. I've lived at the same place now. This is like the 3rd year I've been there.
They know you don't want to move.
The housing prices right now are so annoying in general. So like my rent is going up a ton because they're like, oh, the housing market's up. Maybe we can get away with this. And like, so they do that. And then on top,
what are you going to do? Buy a house, dumbass?
Yeah.
Like, they know.
Interest rates as well. And you're like, you can't get a mortgage.
Yeah. And then on top of that, they just know no one wants to fucking move.
Nope. They sure don't.
Can't stand it.
Yep. But, that's just the joy of, never mind. I'm just going to keep it there. Yep.
I just want to come clean. I did almost laugh really hard at the dumbest thing ever, which is you said my mom really quick, and I was about to go, my mom, Brigitte. I was busting out laughing to myself for like 20 seconds. I had to move the mic away. I'm like, dude, I'm so
mom, Brigitte.
I'm really like so dumb. Dude, Alec Fine OK posted a YouTube video, and like, it's just the type of like dumb humor I love so much. He's like, Mama, my man Brigitte. I was laughing at it for like 3 minutes straight. I loved it.
I'm gonna definitely say that in the future.
It's really good.
Trying to, for sure. A lot of my friends who like play Smite casually, like my friends who I played Call of Duty with and all that kind of stuff, or high school friends, they have a lot of really stupid names for like gods that I have to constantly like remind myself to not use. Like, they never say Ymir, it's always Weimer. Like, every time.
Hades is one that everybody
Hades,
Hades.
yeah.
Hades.
Hades,
That's
awesome.
what my friends used to call Hades is Hades. I'm like, look at this Hades, dude.
Yep.
Like,
Olerun is for some reason Buelerun or Buelerun, I think is what they say, and then Uller is Bueller.
Okay, Bueller's kind of funny.
I don't know why, but I'll play a casual with them every once in a while, and we'll just be like talking, and then someone will go, "I'm going on the Buelerun," and I'm like, "What?" Or that's just what they do. Actually, that really reminds me of a funny story. A couple of them came to MLG New Orleans when we were playing, and they didn't play Smite at all at the time. They never played a MOBA, same kind of situation. They just came because we were going to New Orleans to play in an MLG event, and they thought that was cool, and it was an excuse to like get together and get obscenely drunk.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
For the record, they're great at being really drunk. I don't think I
so
saw
are
them.
my friends too.
It's impressive. I couldn't do it.
Me neither.
I didn't go to college. Every single friend I had that I grew up with that went to college, just
I did not see them
Insane.
sober that entire weekend. Every time I saw them, they were drunk. It was incredible.
That's Worlds every year with all my
Yeah,
friends.
exactly.
Like I
That's
bring
what they
like
do,
10 or 11 of my friends come to Worlds, and they're like that the entire Worlds.
It's really a tour de force. But I remember at one point they were behind. They're behind us. It's like we were in a smaller section of the MLG event, kind of like a DreamHack style setup with like where you could just like walk up. It wasn't on a stage, and they would just like yell shit that they were seeing that just because they're just hammered and have no idea what's going on. But my friend Andy was it was our friend Kyle who was the support player, and he's playing Geb, and my moron friends behind us are just like, "The Rock is rolling! He's rolling around! Look at him! There he goes! He's rolling! It's The Rock!" And we're like, "Dude, stop telling him! Like, don't tell him!" Like, they were like, "Oh, what's that big fire thing? What are we hitting that for?" And like, we're like, "Don't tell him we're on fire." We don't like tell them after the set because they were just like saying where we were all the time.
That's so good.
Like it was
awesome.
just so funny. But yeah, that just reminded me of that. That was
That's amazing.
It was so funny. I wish I remembered more of like the dumb shit they were yelling, but they had some really good ones. But a lot of the names just come from that still, where they only call Geb The Rock. They only call AMC The Bee, like, because someone played AMC and he's like, "What's this fucking bee doing over here?" Like, they're just yelling at the screen, but we're like 5 feet from them playing.
Dude, I love how random stuff like that just carry on with you. I remember I played a rank game with Met Yankee in like season 2 or season 3. And the one time he's like, "I'm on Roditoski," and I just anytime I see Rat, I'm like, "Roditosker." That said it like 3 times. It just stuck with him. He said it forever, and I love it so much. I will only call that character Roditosker.
Dude, I miss Met Yankee.
That guy was
so
That guy,
funny.
I love that guy.
So
too.
funny.
He was so good too. He was
That's
so
the thing.
funny.
He was really good.
He was insane.
He was so good. He should come back.
If another funny name like that, Vamana, like right when Smite was closed beta, I played with my brother who plays League and a couple of my other friends, and we'd all call Vamana Baby Davis for some reason. I don't know why. We'd be like, Baby Davis?
Was it Glenn Big Davis?
Yeah, probably. It was probably from that, but we call him Baby Davis. And we would be like, dude, Baby Davis is just murdering everybody. What is going on?
He's kind of like in his old. He's kind of built like Big Baby Davis. You know what I mean? Like that guy was good.
Glenn Davis got mad about that though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what do you want
Why
to
is
do?
he like such a big baby?
Yeah, like it's not like I don't know. Just he was at LSU with another like really good big man in college, right? Did LaMarcus Aldridge go there at the same time as him? There was another like really good center where they had like
Which college was it?
LSU. They had Glenn Davis and like another big man who were both like really good, but Big Baby was better in college, and then the center ended up being better
In the NBA.
Oh yeah, LaMarcus went to Texas. That's right. I forget who it was.
Did Shaq went to LSU? Not at that
Yeah, not at
time,
the same
but
time,
yeah,
yes.
LSU always has good big men. I know that.
Yeah. I forget who it was, but there was another like the center. It was that happens a lot. I feel like in college sports where like there are like 2 really great players on a team, but one is definitely better in college, and then the other one ends up being the better like pro player. No,
Joakim was Florida.
Yeah, he went to Florida. He was there with
That
like
Florida team was stacked.
like
Al
Corey
Horford
Brewer
and, stuff,
Al Horford. Yeah, that was
So
such a
stacked.
sick team. Yeah, That was when I like college sports back then. I feel like were so much more fun than they are now for me. Like I don't know
wonder
why.
if we were just young because I feel that way
Partially,
too.
yeah. It is like gaining the sentience of like, wait a minute, all of these like very adult humans are yelling at these like kids. Like that's like such a weird dynamic that like really turns me off of college sports like almost entirely. Like I watch a college player like. Who was the guy who in the NCAA tournament like a year or two ago like just completely inted the game and like literally lost his team
I know what you're talking about.
and it was awful. It was like a terrible brain like you know that is gonna haunt that guy for he's not a professional athlete. You know what I mean? It's gonna haunt him
last,
forever.
Like sports memory,
right? And like 55-year-old guys on the couch are like, "You're so stupid!" Like screaming at this guy like. It's a kid. Like, I don't know, that stuff like really bothers me. At least, and it's better now that at least they can make money. If it's like someone who's making a lot of money, then it makes me, at least you have that to like fall back on. Professional athletes, people definitely take it way too far. But in general, it doesn't bother me as much because at least they're rich. Kids it just bothers me.
The coolest thing for me watching college sports now, like I kind of fell out of watching. Like I used to, when I was younger too, I'd watch it more. But for some reason, I guess I was home and my brother did a bracket. My youngest brother, Jake, I was watching a lot of the basketball games with him. And we're just watching these games because we watch a lot of NBA together too. And we see like 5 missed layups. And we're like, you don't see this in the NBA. Like, it's crazy like how good like the really good players are in college. They're like insane compared to everybody else.
Yeah.
But when they play in the NBA... they're like average or below average, or they might not even make a team. It's crazy to like see the level of competition difference between college and like pro. That it's just fun to watch, like because it's just like I guess you're kind of watching like a bronze game with like a Smurf in it, kind of. Basically, is like the best way to compare it.
It is like inconceivable that. How good the pro players are at that type of stuff. Like there was like some video of Steph making 3-pointers for 5 minutes straight. Just like, it wasn't like, oh, shoot, hang out, talk. It was literally like, shoot. 5 minutes, no misses.
Did you guys ever watch The Scallenge?
Yeah, with Scalabrini.
Yeah.
No, I didn't watch it.
Yeah, that is a sick series.
It came up on my YouTube today, and I was like, "Oh, I'll watch that. That's kind of fun." Like,
I watched it a while ago.
Yeah. I watched it. I think like originally, and then even now, like it's just funny to look back on. Brian Scalabrine,
Yeah.
I assume, of course. Like,
Yeah,
Celtics
of course.
legend.
Celtics legend.
Yeah.
Red Mamba.
Of course, yeah, the Red Mamba. So Brian Scalabrine, he had a bunch of quotes. Like one of the quotes was like, "I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me." Like whenever like fans would trash talk him, because like he's not like. In terms of like NBA players, he's not a great NBA player, but he did something called the Scallenge, and Brian Scalabrine basically did an open invitational of anyone who thought they were better than him was free to come play him. Smokes everybody. No game's even close. Not even remotely close.
It was like 1 point got scored on him, I think, in like the 4 games that got posted in the Scallenge or whatever. It was
That's
like
awesome.
Some crazy thing. He beat everybody like 11-0 or 11-1. It was like insane.
And it just puts into perspective, like he's not even having to try as hard as he needs to. Like he's just so like you're just playing checkers and he's playing chess. Like it's not even close. Like it's so funny.
I can't remember if it was I think it was after the Scallenge came out. It was a couple years ago. Some kid went up to him when he was in a gym as well, and he was shooting around. And he's in his 40s now, I think, somewhere in there. And this kid challenged him. He's like, "Yo, you play in the NBA? Like you're bad." And he got crushed by him. He's like, "Okay, I understand now."
Dude, there's some video I remember. It was like I don't know if it was after he got drafted for a couple years or something, but I remember seeing it because I was like around like the Baltimore D.C. area. And it was some guy went up to John Wall in a gym and was trash talking him so hard. I'm pretty sure they played 1-on-1. It was lethal how embarrassing it is. Like, but like
imagine,
dude, like Brian Scalabrine, like I could kind of see you're just like this guy's a freaking bum. But like John Wall, like,
imagine thinking that like you could beat John Wall. That's an absurd thought.
It was like it wasn't just a random guy. It was like some like high level like high school player or something like that, who just like ego through the roof, confidence side, and then like it's just so embarrassing.
Yeah, no, those guys are just on different levels for sure.
I see. I guess we don't really look at chat that much, but Wickman was asking if there's still a college Smite League thing. I've been doing I've done Met5 recently. I started this year, and a lot of college teams actually sign up for coaching from me. Texas A&M has an insane Smite scene. It is crazy. You would never expect it.
That's sick.
They have 4 teams.
Wow.
They signed up for my Met5, and I was like, they're like, yeah, can you do like a presentation for us? So I made a presentation. I did a presentation for them. And I was expecting 5, 6 people. It was 28 people. And I was like,
crap.
What the heck?
That's awesome.
They have 4 Smite teams in the college league.
That's so cool.
They have
so sick.
It's Texas A&M 1, 2, 3, and 4. SAU, I think that's Southern Arkansas University, I think is SAU. I've been coaching them. They've signed up a lot, and they're really good. It was funny, one of the one of the players on the team, Chubby Ostrich, was in our rank game.
Oh yeah, I know who that is. Yeah,
he was in our me and Sana's rank game the other day, and he was going off in mid as Kukulkan, and Sana's like, "Dang, this Kukulkan's good." I'm like, "Yo, that guy is a college player. I coach him." Yeah, and he's like,
awesome.
"Dude,"
That's
he's
so
like,
cool.
Sana's like, "Dude, they're gonna win." He was going off on
That's only because
Kukulkan.
Meerkat isn't around to put him in their place.
Meerkat
you
was
know
the
what I mean?
Wilt Chamberlain of college Smite.
Without a doubt. Yeah. Uncontested. Number 1 GOAT.
Yeah, and then Full Sail's also signed up. So I've done and then there's been one Florida team, not the whole team, just one player signed up. So there's still a college scene in Smite. I think it's really cool.
That's awesome.
The SAU guys, OJ Man, have you ever seen him in any stream chats before?
Yeah.
He's on that team as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and they have he said they have a facility or whatever. And they all get scholarships to play, regardless of if they win or lose in whatever Smite League, which is really cool that their school does that. That's insane.
That's great.
And they all get to play in the same place, and they all hang out and they see each other and chill.
Dude,
that would be fun
be so
in
fun.
college, to play Smite and just hang out with the people. That sounds so sad. I tell them that every time. I'm like, they're like, yeah, we're all here because they'll either. I remember I sat in when they played Ice one time, and then the other time, they're doing a VOD review, and they're just on one day, and they're like, yeah, we're all here. We can hear you. And I'm like, oh, that's so sick.
Yeah, that'd be so fun.
Dude, it's so cool to see that in gaming in general. I don't know if you guys interacted with him that much, but when I played for Unite, I guess technically my boss, Clerky, he runs the college is Maryville, and he got into it super early. I mean, I feel like at this point it's got to be almost 8 years ago or something like that. But they've been one of, if not the best collegiate programs in almost every game forever.
Yeah.
And I've talked to him normally every now and then I'll just chat with him, just see how things are going, or he'll check in with me or whatever. And he's talked to me a lot about the collegiate side of esports in general. And honestly, I'm pretty high on it. I feel like it's just gonna be so cool that as gaming and esports, from where we are now to even 10 years ago when I started being a pro player or whatever, 9 years ago, it's just so different. I think that's such a cool experience to think I can go to college and instead of it being just a club, you could literally get a scholarship just to play games and have fun and stuff. It's so cool.
Bro, my dorm in college didn't have usable internet, basically. It was just if you want to use internet, you got to go to the cafe or the library or something like that. I played nothing but Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2008 on my PlayStation 3 over and over again, because I just couldn't online game, let alone have that be a priority.
That just reminded me of a crazy story you told me. You have to tell the story about when you lived in Pittsburgh with where you used to play, where it was freezing because your heat didn't work or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Tell that story. That's that's a crazy story that you used to have to play in that.
Yeah, we had an apartment. My first apartment with my again then girlfriend, now wife. It was an old hotel, then an old person home, then abandoned, then bought by 2 brothers who were yeah, we can make apartments. And they kind of sort of did, but also kind of sort of didn't. And so basically these rooms were really, really big. We had a 2-bedroom and it was massive. And one of the bedrooms was my office where my gaming setup was. And during the winter, it had this the hotel room windows that are huge. It had one of those and the heater right underneath it. And the heater stopped working. and the electrical was so old that we weren't allowed to have space heaters, and they were like, we will have a fire if you plug in like a space heater, like please don't. So we would just keep that door closed, but it's this massive window. It wasn't sealed super great. It's old and it's winter, and I would open the door and instantly like I could see my breath. There's like frost on the inside of the window, all this kind of stuff. I like kept like a little blanket over my PC and over my Xbox so that frost wouldn't get in there. And then I'd take those off and I'd turn them on and I'd play from in there because it was the only spot that had a good wired connection. And also because my wife is a teacher, she goes to bed very early, she's a morning person. If I'm scrimming at 11:30 at night or whatever, which wasn't that uncommon for Xbox back in the day, I would keep her up, and it was the farthest away from our bedroom. So I would literally like be seeing my breath while playing, and like I'd have to like I had hand warmers and like gloves, and I'd keep them on for picks and bans, and then I'd take them off, and like I'd like have the controller like inside my pants, like on my leg, like trying to keep that warm. In my like ski jacket, I'm like in there, and then I'd like pull it out, like pull all the stuff off and like scrim, and then put it all away and like put the blanket over and all that kind of stuff. And that went on for like a good like month. One winter while I was scrimming season 2, and the whole time I was just getting like completely railed by Allied's Kukulkan, and I was like, "What's the fuck? This sucks."
You're just freezing.
Yeah, I'm freezing my ass off, and Allied's like spam taunting me for fun, and that's just that was it, dude. I should have brought it. Oh, that would have been so good. I found my notebook that had all of my scrim notes when we scrimmed Envy. Like I would write them down in an act because I have the worst handwriting. I don't know why I like it, but I really like having like a physical notebook where I still do like write down notes for all that kind of stuff. And I found my old one where I kept a lot of like our comps, what went wrong, like what we talked about, all that kind of stuff. And I was reading it the other day and I was like, oh, I should bring that on whenever I go to the podcast because I'm sure we'll talk about that time. And then I totally choked. So unlucky.
That's cool that you still have it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I can show you guys sometime. Maybe I'll try and like find some pictures to post online or something like that. That'd be fun.
It's funny, the hand rubbing thing. Everybody always laughs at me because I love to rub my hands together.
Dude, I was watching your stream one time, and I literally just kept...
I was raging that game, actually. I remember when you
were like,
watching...
Yeah, you just like kept like...
Dude, you have two hand rubbing motions. Yeah. There's one where you're having a lot of fun and you're laughing, and then there's another where you're like annoyed at yourself or something. Yeah. And you're just like, it's just so funny. I love it.
To be fair, though, the reason I rub my hands, though, my hands get really cold. Like, I swear, my circulation to my hands, there has to be something wrong. Like, right now, they're good, actually, for once. But usually, like, when I'm rubbing my hands, they are freezing. Like,
my hands get cold, too, for sure.
Like, and I always want my hands hot if I can when I'm playing. Yep. So that's why I'm always constantly rubbing my hands together.
Dude, I literally fat-fingered my emoji at level 5 yesterday because of that.
Oh, we were laughing at you.
Dude, my hands were freezing. And, dude, I'll do this thing, like, so my keyboard, I have like a custom keyboard. I don't like linear switches, so it's like a slightly like tactile switch. So sometimes when my hands are cold, I'll like wiggle my fingers around to like try to like get blood flow or warm them up or whatever. And I'm wiggling my fingers around, and I like the softest tap ever on my spacebar, which is my Alt key. Emoji walls come up, and I'm like, ah! I literally yelled that, and they're like, "What happened?" I'm like, and Dardis is like, "Don't talk about it." And it was so trolling.
I was disc golfing with Neil and Sam, and we were like watching on our phones, and he was like, Sam was like, Mike just emoji alted nothing, and he's like yelling about it in his player cam.
Dude, it's just one of those, like, every now and then I'll just fat finger something, and that, like, it's like once a year it'll happen, and I'm like, okay, cool, it's out of the way, no problem.
Yeah.
I was so mad about it.
That's just how it goes. Wait, Aurora, that reminded me, you were talking about, you're always rubbing your hands. Everyone knows the Aurora clap, right? Like, yeah, you did it, that type of thing. I was watching your brother, Lorlo, stream, because I watch a stream all the time, and he Aurora clapped at something, and I in his chat I went, "Oh my god, you did the Aurora clap," and he was like, "What is that?" No way! But he literally was like, "Yeah, you got me, good job!" But it didn't have the exact like tone, but like it was very Aurora clap.
Dude, I love watching expressive players. Like Sino took the clap from you too. I feel like when you played with him, he does it as well. And you know what else we were watching? It was. I think me and Dardes and Lasper, we were watching, like, we started talking about, like, random, like, games a couple years ago, And it was a game last year I played against like the old Oni Warriors with like, you know, Cuvo Fred. Fred's cams are the funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
There's like, I can't mimic what he did, but there's like a game where Neil's Kepri and Fred is like Pele or something, and he like Peleots into 5 people, like clearly expecting Kepri out, and he gets one tapped, and he looks so confused. He's like, what? Like, he's like, what the hell is going on? And like, he starts moving his chair. He's like, he's so mad. He's the most mad I've ever seen someone. He looks so confused. And then the funny thing, it cuts to Nika's cam, and Nika's just like, he's just like playing. I'm just like, dude, if I moved like that, there's no way someone next to me is staying completely still and calm. But they gotta just be used to Fred or something. I don't even know, man.
Dude, Fred is one of those guys that I could tell I would have just loved to be on a team with Fred.
I'm sure Fred would have been one of the funniest people. Like, Fred outside the game is so funny. Like,
such a funny guy.
It had to be so fun scrimming with that
and
guy.
he was just always like, that's the thing that I always paid attention to a lot while I was casting is like, who is actually like getting animated and like,
yeah,
looking like they're invested in those types of moments. And Fred was just like, if he felt like his team like really executed well on a Thursday in March, like he's like yelling in his cam and is like stoked. And that's the type of player that I always like wanted to play with.
For
like
sure.
He was really locked in on that.
An underrated person who was expressive, I feel like, was Mask. He would always
Oh
like,
yeah,
Bro, Mask is
he would like
no one's
dodge,
ever wanted to win more than
dodge
Mask.
abilities. Like,
Yeah.
he would be like he'd jump in his basket and then like he'd like dodge.
Yeah,
like,
he would
with,
literally-
like he'd like try to dodge like in person as well.
Yep.
And I'd always laugh because I'm like, dude, that's me. I love to move like when I'm playing and doing stuff.
Yep.
Like I love that kind of stuff, and it always made me laugh whenever I saw him do it. I'm like,
have you
oh
guys
my
ever done
God.
that where you like try to dodge in real life? Or like,
I probably have.
dude,
I'm
you know,
sure I have.
The first time I noticed it, I was playing WoW, and I was playing a Warsong Gulch, and at like part of Warsong Gulch, there's like that tree stump in the middle, like of the middle of the map, and I remember trying to go, like I was playing Horde, I remember trying to go up, and I remember in my chair I was like this, and to try to look over the tree stump, and I was like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, I'm playing too much WoW. Like, this monitor is my reality.
That's really funny.
Oh,
No, I
God.
definitely have done a lot of the like. The easiest is when you're like playing Mario Kart and you're really trying to make
yeah.
the turn. Like you
Yeah.
gotta do the little controller rotation. Like it helps, you know.
The little head tilt, like
Yeah. Like, yeah, you got it.
Dude, I would do that with like, is it like Wii bowling or whatever? Because like
Yep.
when you wanted to like curve it, you like really had to like flick your wrist. I would
Yep.
like, you just like whip your whole body that
Yeah.
way. Yeah,
Yeah,
it just happens.
it's just what you got to do. Whatever you got to do what you got to do. And Mask knew that. Masked is no one has ever wanted to win any individual Smite game more than Masked.
Maybe learn me.
Maybe Learn Me. I was
That's
just gonna say
it.
that,
Those
yeah.
are 1A and 1B on
Yep.
most try-hard people I've ever experienced in my life.
Yep. Can't troll, won't troll.
Yeah. Dude, have you ever... I'm actually curious. It was something that happened in one of our games this set, or this past set this weekend. Have you ever had a game where it's like such a horrible start where you're just like, guys, like, we got to make this game sloppy? Like, I don't know how you comment, but like...
all the time.
Yeah.
Our go-to in season 5, our go-to it was so funny. No matter how the game went, if we were behind, the call was let's go clown at fire. Like everybody
Yeah.
has their teams. Like that was the Splice call. Like we're grouping at fire and we're doing stuff. That was like we called it clowning. We're like we're gonna go clown, and everybody knew what that meant, and everybody
Yep.
knew what the assignment was when it was time to clown.
Yeah,
Dude,
I love that.
we lost it was like one of those games, like just nothing's going right. Like the start's horrible, we drop a kill, buffs get stolen on coin flips, and like everything's going wrong, and we lose the fight. We like get 1 for 4 wipe, lose a Gold Fury, lose a tower. And like everybody's kind of like, I started asking them like, okay, like what's our next fight? Like, what can we play off? And people are like, yeah, I'm really not sure. I'm like, okay. And then you can literally watch it. I ping the map. I ping their Phoenix sign, and I'm like, I want you to go die here. When I say run it down, I mean run it down. Like go proxy wave, start looking for 1-for-1s, and like we actually came back in the game a good bit. We like I stole a fire, of course.
Yeah, I saw that. That was crazy.
Yeah, I stole fire. We were only down 5K. And I actually think we had a chance to get back in that game, but it's so fun to do stuff like that where you're just like like let's clown it at fire. I'm just like I just say run it down. Like people don't know what I mean. Like, and then after the set, like I get in the car to like take them home. I'm like, guys, you know what the worst part of today is? You've inted my KDA the whole split. I was like 1-11 that serve game, but I'll take it. It was so like it was just so fun. Like
You guys could have definitely won that game.
we for sure could have. I'm not gonna say what I think we should have done, but we for sure could have won that game.
Yeah, that's unlucky. That reminds me, like, there have just been so many, like, good listen-in moments, but one I always like to tell is Paul on when they were on Xbox. There was a listen-in with Paul's team where they get a fire giant and they're telling it, you know, they're, like, trying to, like, run. And I'll never forget
I know what you're going to say.
Paul just going, every man for himself! On the way out. It was so like no one has ever said that legitimately ever as far as I can tell before that moment, but I think about that all the time. Like,
I love that.
Just every man for himself is so funny. And then Jelly also on Xbox had the least broadcast appropriate listen in we'd ever heard, even beyond the like fuck Geb moment. Yeah, whatever. I'm already in. I gotta tell it. It was, you know, Mifflin and Delta Marine, all this kind of stuff. And Jelly was the support for that team. And they had gotten they had won a fight, and then they got like a tier 1, a tier 2, all their buffs and a gold fury on the way out. And we're doing a listen in, and completely out of nowhere, they're like, okay, yeah, let's do this. There's like that moment of silence, and Jelly just goes, man, I bet F. is jizzing right now. and we were like, cut it. Like, how do we even bring that back? And then we bring it back, and I message him after the game. I'm like, Jelly, what did that even mean? Like, why did you say that? And he's like, because we got all the stuff after the stop. The funniest listening I'd ever heard in my entire life.
What did F. say?
He was like, Tom. I don't remember if Tom was on that cast.
Game?
I don't think so. Maybe he was. I don't know. I feel like he might have been, but I don't want to say for sure because I don't remember for sure. But if he was, no, I don't think he was actually, because he would have definitely had. He would have had a very clever.
He would. Yeah, I was gonna say
for sure.
that'd be such a him like throw.
He would have loved
that. I don't remember, but man, that was like, and I was like, what? Why would you say that? And he's like, because we got all the stuff after the stuff.
It's like so obvious.
Yeah, he was like, what do you mean? Because he didn't say that in game at all. It was literally just like a phrase that came out of his mouth. It was so funny. And now whenever we like win a fight and get a whole bunch of stuff after the stuff, I just think F.
I might start saying that.
Just don't do it when they're listening.
I love saying stuff.
Dude, you had a listening that was crazy. Did you hear the listening?
No, I didn't.
Dude, in that game, like it was one of those games. Like sometimes with my current teammates, something I gotta do is like, if I like feel like we're in a good spot, but they're like. We had like just won a big fight. We were playing from behind, and like
the Afro game.
Yeah, and I was like oh my god, I was so confident, and then like I didn't really feel that. Like they didn't really feel it is the way I was. So I was like, guys, just like go get your toys. We're gonna fuck them in their fuckholes. Oh no! Well, I don't know. What are you gonna do? Did my mic just turn off?
No, I think you just knocked all the on the back. All right, we got to go back. Yeah, there we go.
We're good.
There we go. Perfect.
Hopefully that's on me. Hopefully that was just our headphones.
Dude, I did that too yesterday. Like,
no.
In one of the games yesterday, like the first game when we won it, I like slammed my desk and like, let's fucking go. And my mouse was like, just up in the air. It doesn't get damaged or anything, but I don't know. You got to bring the energy.
Wait, that was on a listen-in. What you just said?
Yeah, the fuck them in their fuck hole. Oh yeah.
It's funny because
they cut instantly.
They instantly cut. It was funny because you slammed it. I don't know if I picked it up. It's like you were self-censoring yourself. You slammed the desk.
I was like, damn, Billy's on it back there. Like he knew it was coming. He's not letting it happen again.
Oh, that's
really funny.
Dude,
yeah, that's
the funny thing was after that set. Kabam comes into our booth, and he has Graham behind him, and he's looking at me.
Oh, Dad's here.
No, he's just looking at me. They're just both looking at me pack up my bag, and like, no, it's not abnormal for Kabam to come in and like say something funny to me or something like that.
Yeah.
But he's just got the biggest smile ever, and I'm like, did I do something? He's like, well. as you know, we're doing listening. and I was like, what did I say? Like, and I was like, there's no way I said a slur. Like, there's no way I said anything. Like, I hope not. I'm like, I don't say stuff like that. Like, what could I possibly said? And he's like, there was some fucking in the fuck holes that was talked about. I just start laughing instantly. And I'm like, and that's the first thing. Like, I normally don't check like social media and stuff that much. Like, I'll like try to post whenever I have a match or something.
Yeah.
Instantly when I got home, I'm like, I got to see the clip of this. Like, I got to go find it.
I'm going to go find it after this. For sure.
Oh my god, it's
That's
so funny. I like. Who was on the game? The casters were just like so flabbergasted. They just did not know what to say after.
I don't know. I want to say Trelly. Like they like tossed it, and Trelly was the first one to talk. But I'm not 100% sure on that.
They're basically like, yep, that's what's going on here, guys.
See, that's where they need what we would always do back in the day was anytime there was like a listen in like that someone said something they weren't supposed to, or like we were going way too far off the rails. Our like bit to bring it back was always so anyways Sobek and we would just like start talking about Sobek, and it's because one of Taco's first like casts, she said something Taco got there on keeping it more in pocket, but if you remember when she first started as a not at Worlds like desk analyst but like full-time caster, she had a couple really out of pocket things that were said, and there was one time where it was like the stand-up shot, like in between games or in before picks and bans, and it's Tom and Taco, and Tom's standing there, and his posture was always like very upright and hands right in front like this, and he's just looking at Taco, and she says something like super not okay to say on the broadcast, and he just goes, so anyways, Sobek, I remember that. So we just always kept saying that. So it was just anytime there was almost never a Sobek in the game, but that's how we'd always bring it back is, so anyways, Sobek would have been pretty good in this draft, but ultimately they went a different way, and just like bringing it back in that really troll way. And then sometimes we'd get really excited when we tried to bring it back, and then there was a Sobek in the game, and that was a good feeling. I remember one time I Finch was absolutely funching on like a console game or something like that, and I hit him with so anyways Sobek, and then I like start talking, and then Finch looks at the screen. He goes, "There's actually a Sobek. That's not fair." He's like, "You can't do that when there's a Sobek." Like it was a whole thing. So yeah, whenever I hear like there's any awkward transition on broadcast, I still think so anyways Sobek is like my first thing.
Dude, I've heard some of the most insane comms I've ever heard. Like the LAN you started, the group stage LAN. My favorite. I don't think you were in our group. I think it was like us and like enemy, and that enemy team was like Scream and Pain Deviant and Panic Hat and stuff. Mm-hmm. They sailed Chaos, and I remember they had like bleachers at that time in the studio. Like there were literal like bleachers set up. So all the players like that. So there's 4 teams there, and the 2 teams who aren't playing right now are watching the 2 teams who are playing. And I remember it's like the first LAN or like those group stages where when Erlang came out. And Scream's like owning that game. Their head, they have fire. And Scream's like, wait, can I just go do this? I think I can 1v3. They're like, you can hear like it's not a listen-in. I can hear them in the room. Yeah. And Chaos and Pain are like, no, let's just group it through. He's like, no, you don't get it. I'm literally Erlang Shen. And he just blinks in, dashes, kills somebody. He's like, no, I'm the fucking goat.
That is the most Scream thing.
It wasn't on the goat. He's like, I'm a beast. Like that's like the start of that. I love it, man.
That was so good.
I loved it. It was my favorite. Like there's so many things like that. I wish you could like post all of them. I remember like I was talking to Sam for Soccer about this. I used to post like the first COVID year when we were on Ghost. After sets, I would like post a clip of the game from my point of view with comms because I would record all the games. And there was a game I played Yamoja, and it was just one of those games you're just not on the same page with your jungler. Every 3 I put on the map, Sam blinked into it. There's a fight we won, and Sam's like, dude, you are fucking owning me. And then we win the fight. I'm like, nice, we owned that game, and Sam's like, I'm so mad right now. I just love stuff like that.
I love Sam so much, dude.
You literally own them and your own jungler. Dude, you killed 2 junglers in one game.
That's so easy for you.
Dude, there's a clip of Neil and Fred, actually. I remember the exact spot of the fight. It's like they get a fire, And you know that like rock, it was between back harpies and blue buff. It was a really thin corridor. And Neil puts a Yamoja 3 in there, and he hits like 2 people in the enemy team. And you can tell Fred just doesn't know what the character does because he keeps bouncing back and forth. He keeps running into it, and he's so pissed about it. Like you can see it. He's just so mad about it. And I remember, I wish, like I'm not going to tell the story as well as Neil, but Neil's just like, Fred's like, yeah, Neil, I swear, like, that's so grief. You should never do that. Neil just starts laughing. He's like, dude, I don't think you know what my character does. And I just love it.
That's really funny. Dude, I remember, speaking of that exact, like, type of scenario, at that regional, or at that group stage LAN, I hadn't, like, met any of the PC pros, really, except for whoever I'd met at Season 2 Worlds or at Launch Tournament when I went to Launch Tournament. And I remember hearing that Divios would always like yell some really random stuff during games.
Oh yeah.
And I remember sitting like front row of the bleachers for one of your games, and he's playing Bologna.
Oh, he was role playing.
And he literally yelled "Rally here" when he ulted. And I did the like Jim from The Office. Like I was like looking for the camera. I was like, did that happen? Like, did he really just yell the voice line?
Dude, one of my first
he
tournaments
did it,
I
but
went
he was
to,
about
man.
it.
Dude, Season 2 regionals, I remember he played Bologna, the same thing, and he was like, Roma and Victor! and this is like 15-year-old Divio, so
Yeah,
his voice
was so high.
Yeah, his voice was just a little higher, especially when he was excited. It was actually such a good Bologna impersonation. He nailed it.
It was so funny. Yeah, it was a great time. Like, it was really funny. But that group stage was super troll as well because, like I said, I didn't really know many of the players, and most of them didn't know who I was either. And we did like, I don't know if you guys remember, but we did sit-down interviews with every single player on every single team to start that LAN. And, you know, as the new guy, I had to do, like, a lot of those. And players back then were not nearly as comfortable being, like, on camera or, like, answering questions and all that kind of stuff. But I was, like, used to, I mean, I interviewed professional athletes, like, all the time at my previous job. So I like was trying to help like open up the interview process and that kind of stuff. But there were some like awkward interviews. I remember because we were also doing a lot of like, I mean, if we did those types of interviews now, they would go so much better because players are just so much better now. But a lot of like, you know, I think we asked every single play. We had a couple players from each team that we asked every single player on other teams about, like, you know, oh, you're in Eager's group. Talk to me about Aurora's play style.
I wanted to ask you about this, so I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, go ahead. What did you?
No, go ahead. Keep going.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I just remember doing those interviews and being like, dude, this is fucking hard. Like, some of these interviews are just hard to like try and get people like kind of opened up. But I also think it was like actually helpful because that has always been a really good skill of mine, is that, you know, just because I was doing it for my job, like I'm a good interviewer, and coming in and getting to do something that was a strength was probably good for me and probably like helped get me kind of in there, I suppose, with like a lot of the pro players. Yeah, exactly.
Scene more.
I think it's cool now too because like some players, now they've been around for a while, like I remember like the first few interviews that the casters did with Paul, like Paul didn't really talk that much, and then like you can tell they're like a little thrown. But now every Paul interview, I love listening to him.
Good.
It's so funny. He's just so like, he's so iconically himself. And at some point they'll just ask him a question about the set and he'll just be like, we're just gaming, man. Like I'm just out here gaming. And I just love it. Like the chat loves it too. It's so funny. Like now that you're used to everyone.
Yeah.
I was going to say like, what was your first impressions of me and Mike? Cause I think that interview, I remember a lot of your casts, you like to reference that interview like in the past.
Yeah.
So I was like curious what your first impressions of me and Mike were. I feel like that's probably like one of the first impressions you got was that interview would be my guess.
That's definitely where you met us, right? Because I was trying to think about that like earlier as well.
Yeah, I would have met almost everybody at that LAN. I told you this story before, but my first impression of Mike was really funny because he played in the Xbox Open bracket Season 2, and I obviously knew who you were from playing in the SPL, but I hadn't met you or anything like that. I hadn't seen any content with you or anything. And you were very clearly like sick. Like
bad.
You were really sick.
I was like, what's it called? Like subject 0 or whatever it's called at lands.
Yeah, patient 0.
Patient 0. Yeah, it was like that.
At
bad.
season 2.
Season 2 Worlds.
Dude,
yeah, I was not gonna go.
I got norovirus at season 2 Worlds. I went to the hospital before I went back to. I can't. So okay, I'll
You weren't even close to as sick as he was. You were such a bitch.
Yeah. But I'll have to tell. I'll tell the story after. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. So Mike is like the way it was set up in the ballroom at the Cobb, and we had just played and XCOM. That was the name of that org, I think. Or no, that's the game. Anyways, you were playing with like Shadow Q's team, and you were playing against Sealcar in solo. You were playing solo lane. And I was like standing behind you watching you play, and you were obviously very sick. And I could tell that you had clearly never played Smite on Xbox.
Oh, first time controller.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I wasn't sure. Pretty sure I said to someone, I don't think this guy's ever touched a controller ever. But certainly the first time you'd ever played Xbox Smite. And it is, even for me who played a ton of Xbox growing up, was a very good like FPS player on controller, there is a steep learning curve to play Smite on controller. It is significantly harder than playing on PC. It is not even close. And you were playing Osiris. He was playing Wukong because he was a Wukong main. And you were missing, you were struggling, whatever. And then you did the classic Xbox fatal maneuver where it says nowhere as far as I could tell. But if for whatever reason you pressed LB and RB at the same time, it would make you alt. Like even the control
What even
scheme,
were the LBRB controls?
that would have been if you were playing on Savage, which if you had any brain you were, then that would have been your 2 and your 3. If you just pressed those at the same time, it made you alt.
Oh, okay.
Don't know why that was their decision, but you just like up down in the middle of the lane at like a
I
third
am
HP.
playing solo. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. But like literally, he was like walking away or something like that. He heard you alt, just turned around and insta killed you. And you were like raging. You're like, what the fuck was that? Why did I fucking alt? What the fuck? Like you were clearly mad.
That makes sense.
And I was like,
I just didn't even want to be there. You know what I mean?
I was like, this guy yells. I was like, oh my god, PVM's a rager.
Such a big. I'm so toxic. I'm a huge.
I was
rager.
like, God, that guy's. I don't know. I wouldn't want to play games with him. Like,
That's awesome.
he's such a rager. Like, what a jerk. And then, like, I obviously, like, met you later on, and then we've obviously become very, very good friends, but that was definitely my first impression.
Do you know if, like, one of the first times, I don't know if this is right, but I think one of the more vivid memories I have around when I, like, first actually talked to you a good bit in person, I think it was, like, the troll cast.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was me and...
It was me, you, Adonis, and Efton, I'm pretty sure. It was all 4 of us.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Yep. Yeah, it was. And I remember... Those two, like, Adonis was trying to keep it more on task. Tom was, like, definitely antagonizing.
Yeah, Tom was like, I know I can get him to do some dumb shit.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And I was just like, oh, we can do dumb shit? I'm in. Like, I don't know any better. So, like, you and me were just trolling our brains out, and Tom was, like, egging us on. Mm-hmm. And I remember, like, Hindu was, like, because, like, it was the desk set up. And then there was, like, the casual set over there. And, like, Hindu decided he wanted to join in. So, like, he, like, just got on the casual set and put on a headset and, like, started casting
That was
too.
so fun.
Yeah, that was so funny. But, yeah, that was. And, yeah, I don't remember our interview necessarily that much,
I don't think
Aurora.
you did do my interview. I was thinking about that.
I don't know if I did yours either.
Oh, you were saying Aurora's. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember if I did your interview, but I remember that LAN, you, me, I think it was, like, Kiki and a couple other people. We all went to Steak and Shake. Like one night, and you and I talked a lot then.
Yeah.
And I remember like picking your brain about just like, because you just always had such a distinct play style, and like the way that you view the game is like it as someone who just like was so obsessed with trying to figure out why people are doing things the way they're doing them. And that's why I've like one of my biggest pet peeves that happened for a long time, stopped happening, and I think happens a little bit more now than I wish it did. I hate when two teams just like line up with little game plan and just try and outsmite one another. Like,
You think it happens more now?
I think that it's happening this year.
I actually agree
a lot.
Yeah, I actually do agree.
And it's my biggest pet peeve because all it takes is dedicated like thought and planning and like understanding of what you want to do and who you are as a player, and those are all things that are just effort. Like,
It's
in
hard,
my
it's,
opinion,
it's hard to figure. Yeah, sometimes
it's really
that's
hard.
true.
Don't get me wrong; it's not easy.
The weird
but
thing is,
it's
I don't think
doable.
it's like
no one cannot. It's not impossible for anybody.
I think
right?
I feel like people put in effort. Maybe like I mean, some people like individually
No,
do.
I don't want to say. I'm not trying to say that players or teams aren't putting in effort like they used to. I'm saying that effort is misplaced.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
trying and they're like beating their heads against walls when they just need to like not surge forward and like just play a million games or whatever, but like sit and like think about like what are my
Just
strengths
game
as a player.
planning
Yeah,
or-
exactly. Like
Yeah, for sure.
like what if you close your eyes and envision yourself playing in an SPL game, what god are you? Like immediately. I've told you nothing but you're playing in an SPL game. What god are you? What god are your teammates? What team are you playing against? What are their gods? Like, do those gods line up well against those? You know, like your instant thoughts on like envisioning these things can tell you a lot about what your tendencies are and what your assumptions are, and you can use those to significantly increase your chances to win. But that's like a whole separate topic I could talk about forever. But yeah, I was really interested in hearing, because it took a long time for players to consistently do that and for teams to consistently do that. And I've always said that I thought that you were one of the players that clearly had done it, and it doesn't mean that you're always right.
Yeah.
But you're at least giving it that thought.
Dude,
and I think that's so
I think that was
critical.
one of the first teams that you also really got on the same page with you. Like I think like Pern and Zap and everyone like
Yeah.
they really like and
Best
Divios too
and
was a big part. Like
Divios.
yeah, they really
Yeah.
bought in. Yeah,
There's a lot of really good minds like on that Eager team between me, Divios,
yeah.
DJ, Zap. Like I mean, we had like the perfect storm. Like I feel like, I guess I'm kind of somebody that you could say is like a little bit out of the box compared to like your average Smite player. And then we had someone like Zap, who is like, I always say he's like the fundamental Smite king,
Tim Duncan,
basically.
yeah.
Yep.
Like he's gonna do everything that needs to be done in laning phase, everything that needs to be like he's gonna check all the boxes for like all the things that need to happen in the game.
Yep.
And he's not gonna let any small thing, like small mistake happen basically that can like completely alter a game. Like he'll keep everything like in check for your team. And then I'm kind of like, I guess out of the box or always thinking of doing something different, I guess, than like other people. And I feel like we just played off each other really well with that. And then you throw in Pern, who also thinks out of the box, but in a different way than me. And then you throw in Divios, who also thinks outside the box. So we have like 3 different like thought processes that are all different. And we have a really solid backbone to the team, which was Zap, I feel like, that was able to keep everything like
Grounded.
Exactly, grounded.
Yep.
And we were just able to like we had like an armory of weapons that we can pull from, like between like me, Zap, or me, Pern, and Divios wanting to do different things, and it worked out really well. And the other thing that was really good too is like one person had an idea that was a little bit different, and then like say like I had the idea to like invade them on buffs, and then Divios expanded it. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go hog, and then DJ's like, okay, you're gonna go hog. Instead of stealing it, just look at them and make them panic. And like we would like add on to each other's like like strategies, and it would evolve into something crazy. And then like we had Zap, like you said, to keep everything grounded and making sure that we're actually able to execute everything properly. So it worked out really well. And then me and Bess just had really good. So that team was like really well constructed, I feel like. And it was so much fun to play on, for sure.
For sure. Yeah, I just remember being at that Steak and Shake, and you said a quote that I would say like for years until I stopped casting, which was, you said that the number one thing you loved hearing from players you were playing against is, oh my God, he was so annoying that game. Like that's when you said, that's when I know I'm playing well. And that's just a really good example of like, that is like players who are truly great, I think, are able to give that one sentence of like, this is what I'm best at. Like, this is what I can do. And your picks and your play style have centered around that forever, you know, like playing Hercules up in your face. Like that's annoying to deal with in a way that could Geb standing there and shielding everyone be annoying? Sure, but like that's the essence of what that is. And I think that like the thing that always has annoyed me the most is like teams that if I'm saying, and they would never say anything like this in a content piece because it's core to their team identity and it's valuable information. Even if everyone knows it, like you don't really want to confirm it. But like, look at Season 4 E United. If I say to you, how did Season 4, you're in a random Smite game trying to execute your standard game plan. How did Season 4 E United win a game? And it was pressure through mid, get Benji ahead.
We just had Benji.
Yeah, but like
GG.
you were always picking pressure in mid. You were always giving Benji winning lane matchups and playing and focusing his side of the map, and that's what you were winning through.
And then you always had a big gun from the right side.
Yeah, like that's just what you had. If it's Aurora and I are Magic players. When you play a constructed deck, you have to be able to answer the question, okay, how do I win the game? And the answer can't be, we out team fight. Like that's not enough.
Knowing your win con is so important.
Yeah. Right.
So I love that. I'm going to interrupt you because I'm going to bring it up again. I was coaching this college team and I remember we were watching a VOD, and when I'm going over a VOD with them, I'm like, what are you guys saying? Like, what's your plan right now? Like, do you guys remember what your plan was at this point in the game? And they said, yeah, our plan was that our late game is better and like we're gonna win late game. I'm like, that is not a good plan.
Yeah, it's not enough.
Your plan, I basically told them you could have a plan as easy as like, I forget what the gods were, but like say to like you're playing. I'm trying to think of like a god. Like you're playing Fenrir support, right? Mm-hmm. Your plan could be as easy as just like, okay, if their support walks up, he doesn't have beads. I'm just gonna ult him and we're just gonna kill him a bunch.
Yep.
It could be easiest plan as that. It just needs to be something. It can't be like what you're saying is like we have a good late game and we're just gonna win late game. That is the worst way to think. You need to at least have some sort of plan, and it can be as simple as let's just get every single mid camp. Let's just get every single proc camp. Like it doesn't need to be crazy complex. It just needs to be something other than our late game's sick. Let's just play to late game.
Right. Exactly. And like I was talking about it a lot this week on my podcast with Bera, because I think the backline dynamic is really important to have established, and that a large reason why, in my opinion, Bera and Ven didn't find a ton of success as a backline is because they're the same. In my opinion, the best backlines are like batteries. You have a positive and a negative, right? You've got your primary carry and your like supportive carry. And that's not to say that the supportive or the, secondary is a worse player, worse mechanically, anything like that.
Dude, Paul's up were so good.
Exactly. It is a skill. It is a skill to know that you are going to have to step up at any time to do all the damage. But it is your job to bait yourself, get cooldowns used on you, or knowing that the support, like going into every fight as a support, you are going to have to make a choice on which backliner to save, and you have to know which one you're going to save on each comp, all that kind of stuff. And it can switch, like it doesn't have to be super hard line like Zap Paul, I feel like was, or Zap Shinto, but Zap is just the best example. Ven Bera, I think, are two very good secondary carries or like support carries. You need that like ego carry of, the Pauls. Panda has done both in his career,
Panda's
but
for sure that way.
prefers once, his playstyle definitely leans that way. Like you need to have that. And so many teams, like, you ask them, oh, who's the primary carry? Well, it depends, they say, oh, it depends on the game, depends on the god. And that can be true, but like there's a difference between depends on the game and we don't know, so we just say depends on the game. Like that, I feel like that's something that's like really core to like a team identity. Like if you're envisioning the perfect win for your team, you should know who's popping on that game. It shouldn't be whoever got ahead. It should be, oh, we played perfectly and we facilitated Paul to win this game. We all got ahead and then protected Paul.
You know what's great about that? And I really didn't think about it until we had talked about it, and like it was kind of a hindsight thing. If you go watch back, like the big part of that is like you can like KDA watch and you can be like, oh, like obviously Paul's going crazy, and like in those type of games, like with that example, he was. One of my favorite teams is actually Energy, and like if you go back and watch Raffer's games, like you can also be really good at your role, and if you just watch Raffer and Emil, the way they played on that team, they were so annoying. Like they just did so many like unique things that like Emil just like flanking Gold Furies like with Kronos, like just no one else was doing the things he was doing,
just
like
buying time as Geb or Kepri. That's what Raffer
for sure
would do.
And and they were so good at like you can be a star player in your role as well, and like in my opinion those two were like as important to that team as anyone for sure, even though like a lot of the credit went to Yemen and Kenneth, who like obviously were insane.
I will say this might come off as bad, but I did play with Adapting like season 7 after that year. Like, I thought, okay, like, I always thought I had a lot of respect for Raffer. I thought he was good. But after I played with Kenneth, I was like, okay, I understand how good Raffer actually was. Like, the things he needed to do to make, like,
to
his
get the
team
best out of
success.
Kenneth?
Yeah. Like, the way he played was perfect for him. And, like, like he was so good at it. Like there was no one else like him, and that's why they won. Like there's no other reason why they would win.
And Yemen, that whole 3v3 like was like a celestial like eclipse of like just perfect play styles that lined up so well.
And it also helped they were also like genuinely like just better than people too. Like no wonder they were so dominant.
Yeah, for sure.
Question. Dude, he had me. I think I told you guys this like either last night or something. It was recent. You had me like crying, laughing. I was watching you play like it was like an ice tournament or something, and you're playing support, and you like go invade a red buff, and you start laughing. You're like, dude, I'm having so much fun. That is not good for them. I was dying laughing. And it was the funniest thing ever. I was like, that's the most Aurora quote I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like that's the part that always really excited me about like playing a MOBA or like being a part of a team is like thinking about how best to use our pieces and, you know, our play styles and our personalities and all that kind of stuff. And like, I just feel like if I say, hey, you won this set, what happened? Like you win an imaginary set next week. How did you do it? You should have an idea of how you would win a game. You know what I mean? And it should be specific, like not just we had a good early game. Like it should be, you know, we played through this side of the map. We got this player, this set of picks, you know, whatever it is. Like, I feel like that's what it really, when you can really become like a great team.
I also feel like that's like, I agree, but I also feel like it doesn't have to be anything complex. It could be so simple. Like it could be the simplest thing. Like we got every single blue buff. That's why we won the game. Like, like it could be as simple as that and nothing else.
Dude, my favorite version of that was when Totem first came out. Was the first year I played with Twig, and I remember like we were kind of struggling with like direction on like how to play the early game and stuff. And Twig's like, he's like asking the carries is like, does the totem matter for you mana wise? And they're like, yeah, like it changes our first back and all this. And he's like, all right, I'm at every totem. And he's like, say no more, every totem I'm there. And if you look at like our totem like percentage, like that first split it came out, like we're like 90%. And Twig is like, I don't care if my backs are up, I don't care if my speed's up, I'm at that damn totem.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
He thought it was so OP. I loved it.
It's huge, and you can apply it to like literally anything. Like I play a lot of disc golf right now, and for a while I was missing all of my putts low. And I was like, you know what? I'll take any miss as long as it isn't low. I don't care if I left, right, up. I will not miss low for this whole round. And I don't miss low anymore. And like, if you can just eliminate one, you can focus on like, I'm focusing on this one aspect of my game. Or like another thing that your brother was saying on a league stream the other day, like if you really want to like get better, you can do it in really small increments and it can make a huge difference. And it also makes your mental way better, where like, if you just focus on, I don't care how the rest of the game goes. I just want you to think about going into the game and managing your first 3 waves exactly the way you want. Think about it ahead of time, execute on that. If you did it, great. Rest of the game's free. Like you did what you came to do.
Yeah, it's great advice, I feel like.
And it is so easily applicable to Smite, to sports, like whatever it is, like to life, like
cooking,
what? Right, exactly. Like running. I don't care if I completely mess up this side dish or like this main dish. I'm going to get my broccoli cooked perfectly this meal. And that's your whole focus. And like breaking it into that will like really, I think, help in like every aspect for sure.
Yep. That's how you build habits and muscle memory. It's good. We
Yep.
should probably pack it up.
I told you it would be as long.
Dude,
How long have we been going? I don't even know.
yeah, that's why I
It's
said
like
it.
3 hours almost. I think.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I'm just thinking of poor Billy. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, poor Billy.
Sorry,
I apologize, Billy. Oh, I wanted to.
I can try and be quick. I promise.
I'm trying.
I'm also down to come back. We didn't get to talk about like
yeah.
casting at all. I want to talk
Dude,
about
you
casting
and
for
that,
sure.
yeah, that's the most troll thing. We did it with Kabam too. Like, there's just so much, like, so many things to talk
Yeah,
about. From,
our
like,
episode was so long with him too. Like
Yeah.
we could have gone for another 5 hours with Kabam. I'm sure we could go another 10 with
for
you
sure,
easily.
Yeah, for sure.
Easily, for sure.
Oh yes, the last thing I wanted to talk about. We can go out on this, and unfortunately, it doesn't have to do with Smite, but I think it was season 4. We're gonna skip. I was gonna say one more thing about it, but I think it was season 4. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember I was talking to F Dot, and F Dot played a lot of Magic, and I don't think you were into Magic yet at all. And I remember I played a bunch too, and I was really good back when I used to. Me and my brother, so my brother Lorlo, like the card shop we used to go to was the best card shop ever. We had so much fun, and for like 2 years straight, we would dominate every Friday Night Magic, and it was 60+ people F&Ms.
That's sick.
And
That's so fun.
So what usually happens at F&M is you go, you play out depending on how many people sign up. There's rounds, and then there's
What's
top 8.
F&M stand for?
Friday Night Magic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Of course.
and after the rounds are over for the round robin, you get placed in top 8 if you do well enough.
Yeah, we never had
Yeah.
top 8s because our store was too small.
Yeah, so we had top 8s, and me and my brother would always make top 8 for the 2 years. And what would happen is, usually if you got top 4, you'd split because by that time it was like
Late.
it was like 1 a.m. or
Yep.
later because the games would go really long.
Yep.
And me and my brother our decks were so good then, and we would always play. If we didn't play each other, we would play out the top 4, and everybody at the shop would get so mad. So we'd get more store credit for winning.
Yep.
Because we'd always win top 4, and then we
'Cause
just
they're
split,
tilted
and then
and
we'd
not playing
and then
well.
we'd split the finals. We're like, GG, I guess we won again. And we literally cleaned house like every week. It was insane. Every deck. Every sideboard at that card shop, like literally
Dedicated to
60+ people were for my deck and his deck. He ran.
That's so funny.
He ran the Boros. So for Magic players, he ran. It was the standard where you can go Boros Reckoner.
I love
with
that card.
Boros Charm and Gore Clan, and that was
Yep.
in standard. That combo was in
that's
standard.
awesome.
So he would run that deck and just destroy people with it. And like back then, like now, if you go play Friday Night Magic, I feel like everybody is like looking stuff
Meta
up,
decks, yeah.
and like it was starting to get to that, like when we played, but it wasn't quite there yet.
Sure.
So like a deck like that is gonna clean house, and then my deck was crazy. Like no one even played it. I wish I like played in actual tournaments with it. It was elves. It was green blue elves during. It was like during like Ravnica and Avacyn was still in. I played blue green elves with Simic, what's his name? Astrobiomancer, the 2/4
Okay,
that
yeah.
pumps your other elves. And every week, I think I've told you this story before, but Elvish Archdruid is a lord that you play. Mike's like, what are you guys saying?
No, I know.
right now?
I'm following.
Oh, you're following it? Okay.
I know a decent amount. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he's a lord. So when he comes into play, he buffs all your other elves +1/+1.
Right.
And Master Biomancer, whenever you play a creature ETBs enters the battlefield, he gives his power to the other creature, and he's a 2/4. So if you have Elvish, if you have I think his name, I might be saying it's the 2/4 Simic card in Ravnica, in like the Return to Ravnica set. I forget what his name is, but I think it's Biomancer or something. But if you play Elvish Archdruid, he comes in with 3 1/1 counters because the Lord effect happens before the ETB triggers.
Sure, yeah.
So I get a judge called on me every single week for that as well. So it's really
Like,
funny.
oh, it's you again. Yeah, it works.
Yeah,
Like,
and I know the guy there really well. He's like, oh yeah, he's good. And they're like, what? That works like that? And they always get really mad.
yeah.
But it was funny. But I would run that green blue elf deck, and I could summon What's the behemoth? The
Craterhoof behemoth?
Craterhoof behemoth. Yeah. So I would play Craterhoof. So turn 3 or turn 4, I would Cyclonic Rift their entire board, and then I'd Craterhoof behemoth them on like turn 5 after and one shot them.
That's so fucked up.
Every week they had we clean house, but I loved playing Magic. I had to tell that story in the podcast, but that was so much fun.
Yeah.
But season 4, so the reason why I wanted to say that, I guess it didn't really matter. I just wanted to tell the story. But season 4, you got into Magic because I think you went to go draft with us, right?
Yep.
Was it
Super Games?
Super Games, yeah. Because I think I talked to F-Dad. I'm like, yo, we should do a draft because I loved drafting back then. It was like one of my favorite things to do in Magic.
Yeah, it's super fun.
And he's like, yo, that sounds sick. I'll ask some of the guys. And I think you got AJ to come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you got
AJ's
you to
huge
come.
into Magic,
Kiki and Shewaz came with as well.
Yeah, I remember that.
I can't remember who else came, but we had like 8 of us go, and then a couple other people from High Res. And he's like, yeah, I'll get a bunch of people to come.
Yeah.
And then he's like, he got you to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you loving it. And
I loved it.
And F-Dot was laughing so hard. He's like, uh-oh, we got another one. That's literally what he kept saying.
Yeah, F-Dot cost me a lot of money in that way, didn't he? I didn't think about that. I'll invoice him for the X amount of money that I don't want to say.
Dude, I don't know if this is going to make you mad if I bring it up, but I love, like, whenever I hang out with him and Joe, it'll be so funny because, like, Joe will just make a comment about, like, oh, we could get a new fridge or something. And we're like, oh, actually, you bought a bunch of cards, right? Or she'll say something, you know?
Yeah, and I go, yeah, but I could always sell them if I need to. You know what I mean? And then we were, like, about to have our kid, and I was like, well, I don't want to sell that because, well, you know, it's like, I really like that card.
Does Calvin need all these clothes?
No, surely not. I mean, he only poops on all of them anyways. No, I mean, I became, like, super obsessed with Magic because it's just, you know, I just love feeling like I have something to learn, and feeling yourself improve at something like that is like the most addicting thing in the world.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's so much fun. I feel like you got so much better than me too at Magic, like recently.
I haven't played a lot at all. I don't think I've like played a match of paper constructed Magic in probably almost a year.
I feel like for me now, I still love Magic so much and I love playing it. But it comes in waves for me where I'm like get really into it for like 2 or 3 months and then I fall out of it. It's like where I'm at with it.
Well, because I tried to, when it was going to be the regional event here in Atlanta, and they did the new like RCQ system and all that kind of stuff. So basically you could like go, local stores would have qualifier events to go to the regional championship. The regional championship was going to be in Atlanta at DreamHack last November. And I knew we were, you know, trying to have a kid and that would be very difficult for me to do that type of stuff. And I was kind of in the same boat where like I'd go to F&M a lot and do very well. And I was a pretty good player, but on a local level, and you never know like how good you really are.
Yeah.
But, you know, Tom was always in my ear saying that like I should try and like qualify for the Pro Tour and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, you know what?
So sick.
I'm going to try really hard for this RCQ season. And I talked to a bunch of my friends who were still playing Magic at the time. And I was like, yeah, there's going to be one every weekend for like 2 months. Let's just within like an hour drive. Wouldn't it be really sick if just every Saturday we drive to a store, we play, you know, all this kind of stuff. And everyone's like, yeah, first RCQ comes and goes. No one wants to play. Second, third. I didn't go to an RCQ with another friend of mine like the entire season, but I played in probably like, I think I played in 6 RCQs, and these are all like everyone is trying super hard, like all the try-hard grinders, all that kind of stuff.
And you used to post all your updates on
threads.
Yeah, that was sick. I loved reading those.
Yeah, and and because the one big tournament I went to, I played really, really well and got like top 25 out of like 180 of like try-hards, and that is not a typical first big tournament like experience. So I like thought about these, you know, I'm thinking every day about what my side, you know, what deck I'm going to play, what's my sideboard, what am I expecting to see, all this kind of stuff. And I really loved diving into it, and it was really fun. And I think I played in 6 RCQs. I top 8'd 2. I top 4'd 1. And I think I played pretty well for the most part. I think I made some pretty good choices. I think I punted my first top 8 a little bit, but I was against a really good player. And then I lost a very favored matchup in the semifinals of the other one that I top 8'd, and then I knew the deck that I would play in the finals if I won, and I was heavily favored there as well. And it was just, it's Pioneer, it's like the mono green deck, and it has bad matchups, but it's just the strictly most powerful thing to do, and sometimes they just have it. You know what I mean? It was just one of those, and I was definitely like disappointed that I didn't. I really made it a goal to qualify, and I really wanted to. And overall, like, I think I was very good about not being too results based, because I definitely became a significantly better player during that time, and I think I did about as much as I could have to put myself in that spot. But it's just always a little bit random. But then I went to the regional championship to like do the last chance qualifier like that day, and it was just not super well managed, and I kind of sat around and did nothing, and barely got to play, and none of my friends who I wanted to play with like really played. So I was like trying to take it
to the next level.
And it was like the part that I really liked, which is like playing with my friends and that like community aspect of it, like wasn't really moving with me. So I just like haven't really gone back to it since then.
Yeah.
But I will at some point for sure. I mean, Joe like literally brought up the other day, like, oh yeah, you could probably like go to Magic or something like that if you wanted to. Cause I used to go to Wednesday night Magic, Friday night Magic, sometimes on Saturdays. But she was like, yeah, you could. And I was like, oh yeah, I haven't even thought about going to play, but it's starting to sound kind of fun.
It's nice when it's like rejuvenated a little bit, where it's like just like you're just fresh on it, and
But the biggest problem is I know as soon as I'm in it, I'm spending a lot of money on it because I can't help. Dude,
I've done that lately, not like money wise, but I've done that lately with WoW. Like it's always been a game like I have to hold myself back from. I'm like I'm gonna get addicted to it if I play it. Yeah. And then sometimes you just gotta let it happen.
Yeah, like right now I'm playing hardcore with my brother with Lorlo, and it's good because our schedules are not good to play games with each other right now, because when I'm scrimming, it's like in the morning, and then he streams at night. So there's like a 3 to 5 hour period that we have in the day that we can play, and that's usually when I play only. Like I've played, I think we were talking about before the podcast started, I played on a couple druids, and I've died a bunch, like solo playing, just trolling around. But like we're like 45. I'm playing with him, Best, and the Best, who I used to play Smite with, and then my other friend Zach. And the four of us have just been four-manning. It's been so much fun, but we've been playing it's been like really fun because we are not like trying to speed run it like we usually do. Like we'll play like a couple hours a day, and it's always like a good time when we play.
Yep.
And it's not like we're trying to hit max level, like go.
And you like still want to go and like play, like you get off and you're like, damn, I kind of wish I want to keep playing. Like that's a good feeling.
Yeah. So I've been having fun with that. So I love playing games with my brother, and like playing Magic with him was some of the most fun I've ever had. Like going to the card shop, me and my friends, my next door neighbor used to have this huge van, and like it was like one of those like working vans, and we'd all sit in the back. He'd drive us all to F&M, like all 10 of us, and we'd all.
So sick.
It was so much. Dude, those were the days, man. Yep. I loved playing Magic, and my mom was like always so like hesitant at first. Like we'd go to the card shop, all the big guys like smoking outside. She's like, I don't know if that's a good place for you guys to be, but it ended up being fine. Like, I never got in anything bad, and like it was just a good community, a lot of fun. I feel like
it's great. I mean, it's an expensive hobby for sure, but it's really, it's just like any game where like there are the ragers where it's like, oh, it's all luck, like all this kind of stuff. I mean,
I feel like being a Magic rager would be so funny. I've seen like YouTube compilations.
I've been raged at way too many times in Magic. I was very rusty. We won't tell the story. I was not practiced in Magic at all. I hadn't played Modern in ages. I played his deck. I guess we gotta tell the story.
I can speedrun it, I swear. Basically, Aurora's playing a deck that's extremely uninteractive, right? And it is just fast mana. If he gets his cards, it's unbeatable. If he doesn't, he insta-loses, and it's just how it is. He's playing against the local store rager that he rages against, all the time. Aurora's been hitting all game, but this guy is just like saltily not conceded. And Aurora could simply win the game at his choosing, but he has a Planeswalker that can, if it gets enough loyalty, it's ultimate.
I had to do it, even though it's useless.
Basically this Planeswalker exiles cards, And then if you ult it, you restart the game from 0, but you have the cards that he has exiled in play, already ready to go. I have never seen anyone else use this ultimate because if you get to that point, you've won the game.
You should have. Yeah,
it's been over. And so I remember I was watching, and you're sitting there and you're thinking, you're looking at your cards. He's getting salty that you're even thinking. You go, I'm in a minus 14 card, and he's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, he insta rages, grabs all his cards, and storms out. And dude, he didn't come back for like 2 weeks. Like, I didn't see him for weeks after that. It was so funny. I loved it.
I've seen people get so mad playing that. It's the best.
It was awesome.
Dude, I've seen someone take this. Okay, one last story really quick. Another Rager story. There was a guy, had to be in like his 40s at my card shop, and he played it. And this is like when I was like, this is like 15 years ago, 14 years ago, when I was like 13, 14. His name was Jason. And he was like in his 40s. He like would always talk about how he's been married like 8 times or something and like divorced. Like, and he was like this like crazy rager guy. Yeah,
bought too many cards, Jason. You idiot.
Yeah, and he'd always rage. And he was one of the main reasons I would go with my friends all the time. Like all the friends that go to Worlds, they would come too. And some of them wouldn't compete in FNM. They would just come to hang out and watch or just play by themselves. Because people like Jason would ruin the experience for them because they were too try hard and too raging. He's like, if I play against that guy, I don't want to play anymore. They'd rather my friends would rather concede than play against that guy. So,
his wives would rather concede their marriage too. It sounds like
one of the last times I played against this guy, it was Return to Zendikar with the lands, the
man lands.
No, the. Not was it the one what were they called the masterpiece lands, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah. The expeditions.
Yeah. It was that set. That was one of the last. That was actually the last pre-release I played with my brother Lorlo. That's before. It was either after he joined Liquid and he moved to LA, or like right before. It was either one of those. But that was like my last pre-release that we played. And that's when we were still pretty good, I feel like. That was like the last one we were like very good at the game still. And I remember I play against him. I have a white-blue flyer deck, and it was like very good in that format. And I just crushed this guy. It's literally 4 a.m. because it was the midnight pre-release. It was like the last round. It was for like 8 packs. Whoever won the set, or the set, the other guy only got like 2 if they lost. I blasted him the entire game. He takes his deck, grabs it, and throws it against the wall as hard as possible. The cards go everywhere, and Eric, the guy who owned the card shop, was like, why does Jason just have to do the most ridiculous things all the time? And he's just like, you know who Eric, he's awesome. I love Eric at the card shop so much. He reminds me of Graham of Hindu Man much. Yeah. Like, it is so funny. He is not from the UK at all, but just the way they are about certain
I can see
things.
Graham doing that.
Yeah, like they remind me of each other. That's the first time that connected, but that's so funny. But he was like, why did he do this again? And he literally left, and all his cards were just on the ground. And he's like, well, I guess he doesn't want his cards then.
Yeah. Easy for you guys. That's so funny. But don't be a rager. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah,
it's weird.
But it's
like you, Mike. Don't.
No.
I'm glad you stopped raging so much.
No, I'm not a rager.
If we ever have Zap on, I gotta tell that story. That is a really good story to tell about the Worlds Season 2. I'll save that for if we have Zap on. I'm sure we'll have him on eventually.
Worlds.
Yeah.
You raging?
When I got sick, I'll have to tell that story.
Gotcha.
That'll be a really good good
You were
thing.
patient zero.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Ryan.
Yeah, of course.
It was a good time.
I am down to come back anytime you need to fill an obscene amount of hours.
Yeah, we get paid hourly for this. That's how that works.
Yeah, exactly. That's no, I'm down anytime. It was a lot of fun. Thanks, fellas.
we definitely appreciate it. We've been wanting to have it. I don't know what's been happening. There's like
Well, I remember you reached out to me and you said that you wanted to be on. And I was like, that sounds sick. But I think what ended up happening is we had the one time we scheduled guests. Remember we had like that 4-week clump where we had like Clumsy, Skillian, and Chaos. Like we actually scheduled.
It was a tournament where Scrims owned us or something. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't even that. We never were even able to schedule with them because we had too many guests lined up. Actually.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then you're like, I can only do it before this time because it was before your son got born.
I was like, hey, my kid is due August 2nd or whatever. So if you want me to come on, it'll be easier if we do it before then. And then he came a month early anyway. So my kid, Tyler Jensen, Meerkat, my son.
Right.
You know the one.
Yeah, little guy about yay big.
Yeah.
Got a little hat.
Split pushing on old Loki all the time.
I was talking about Calvin.
That kid. Yeah,
Calvin's a good man.
Yeah.
You can already tell. But yeah, no, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Obviously, the normal plugs. If you want your Twitter or anything, tell people where to find you.
You don't have to find me on Twitter. Oh yeah, I have a podcast. Well, you can find that if you want it to.
Is that still gonna go on, or do you not know yet?
We're figuring it out. Bear's gonna.
That's sick. I hope it
test the waters.
I hope it keeps going. That'd be sick.
Me too. But I've also got some spicy ideas in case he decides to abandon me forever. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, Bear, snaky guy.
Classic snake. Insert Eonic tweet. When the grass is cut, the snakes will show. Yeah, exactly.
Sir. But yeah, anyways, thank you again. Thanks to production, by the way. Here
shout out Billy.
Yeah, Billy and anyone else who's still here. Thank you so much for letting us go crazy. We owe you one for sure. But yeah, you guys can find us again. Same plan every Sunday after the last set of the SPL here on Aurora's Twitch. And you can also find us on Spotify at Inside the SPL. VODs will be on my YouTube at PBM Smite. Long episode today. If you didn't catch the whole thing, I'll try to get out as quick as possible. I might even split this sucker into 2 parts just to make it more digestible. We'll see. No promises. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for watching. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Do you guys peach it? Do I say peach it?
Peach it.
Do it.
Peach it. Peach it.
That's not a damn peach.
What the hell is this?